Hello! How are we all doing? Hopefully better than my poor machine. I have given it the fan though, haven't I, Mike?
You have.
Which is very generous of me, seeing as though I'm dying of the heat here. So, who do we have with us? Let me know when you can hear me, Mike. I'm going to have to make that a smidgen on the bigger side. Carol was first in. Hello, Carol. Hello, Debbie and Pandemonium. Excellent. Hello, Richard. Kim is in the house. Hello, Carol. And who else have we got here? Jammy, good grief. There's a blast from the past. We've missed you, mate. Where have you been? Right. I've got a message that says chat disconnected, but I've been getting messages like that all day. Right, let's carry on. Hello, Dale. And who else? Jonathan is in the house. Hello, Jonathan. Is it warm where you are, Jonathan? It's far too warm here. But you're a smidgen further north. I've actually been looking at Aberdeen and lusting after staying there for a while. It's only 15 degrees in Aberdeen, so it's my kind of weather. Although I did look at Greenland, didn't I? Saying that was a little bit further on. But I'm stuck here, unfortunately. Hello, Renee. Hello, Peter. And Graham is with us. Hello. Who else have we got? I think I've got everybody. Have I? Have I got everybody? If I've missed you, shout at me. There you go. Right. So, do you think it's going to be shorter tonight? I think it could be. It depends on how the machine behaves itself. So fingers crossed, hey. So let's have a look at what we're going to be looking at. Let's see if things move along. Are you moving along? Yes, I think you're moving along. I'll have to come across and have a check. Yes, it's moving. Awesome. Right. So the plan is the week at MacBites headquarters, which has been... I said to you, didn't I, that there's not much gone on this week. That's because I've spent virtually every day fixing something.
This is true.
That I didn't break. Let's just say that. And we're sharing some of that with you, so you can't say fairer than that. Then we've got my content sprint adventure that I'm partaking of with Carol. Carol's ahead of me, though. I've got to get Carol to agree not to tell Dickie and Cole what I've been up to. Otherwise, there'd be nothing to share in the content sprint adventure. I've done things they've told me not to do. So it's our secret, Carol. Let me know in the chat that it's our secret. Then there's been a big rebrand of Obsidian this week. Who's seen that? Let me know. Then we're going to look at QuickAdd, the second type of QuickAdd that you can do. Then we have some freebies, and then we are preparing for WWDC. Let me know in the chat what you want from WWDC. We've just been talking about spending an obscene amount of money, haven't we?
We have.
But depending, if all they bring out's the glasses, there'll be bad words said. It'll be worth attending on Monday just to hear me rant, because trust me, the rant will be in the stratosphere. I am that peeved with Apple's kit at the moment. And I was wondering, we said, didn't we, Mike, why would you want the glasses? What's the point? AI I can understand, but virtual reality glasses, no, it's not doing it for me. Apparently you can get stuff like concerts in 3D. So you sit there with your head in the Apple Reality helmet and you enjoy a concert in 3D. And I'm like, can't you just open the window and see the real world? But There again, that's me. So do let us know. That's what we've got. Right, we are broadcasting in 1080p. Hopefully you're watching in 1080p. But what did YouTube do to me this week, Mike? Every single video was...
Was it 360?
360. It was like a pea soup fog. I got really narky in the end. To the point I went and had a look at the settings to see if you could set it to, if not 1080, then, the best available. No, there's lots of other settings, just not that one. So thanks for that. So I had to watch everything in 360 or remember, like, why is that fuzzy? Oh, yeah, and change it every time. Right, you can change it yourself, depending on what they've done to you, in the cog in the right-hand side, which is near the like button. And we like the like button, just saying. So let's head back to last Saturday. What were we up to? Well, the next slide is basically all week. It's been hideously warm. Now, I know everybody else is saying it's just nice. Yes, it is if you're in the garden. But if you're in the office with, I don't know, about 187 hard drives and 3 monitors and Mike's 2 monitors and 2 monitors on the other computer, it's warm. It's very, very warm. So I could do with it absolutely bucketing it down. Apparently that's arranged, but it'll be November. So I was not happy. Then Tesco's arrived. They actually arrived on time for once, didn't they?
They did.
It got to 9:15 and it was like, oh, they're not early this week then. But, result, nothing was missing. Which, put Mike in a good mood. There was no bad word said, was there? But he did follow that up with the fact that nothing was missing, but that was only from what they were allowed to order, which wasn't everything you wanted, was it?
No, I don't think it was.
No. I just need ice cream. Anything else will be fine. Sunday saw the last Premier League game of the season. Don't think you held out much hope, did you? You've been grumpy all season anyway. But I'm claiming...
Really?
Yes, I'm claiming the second one. Because I pulled the toilet trick again and it worked.
You did?
Yeah, so you're pretty much locking me in there tomorrow during the FA Cup final, aren't you?
Yeah.
So if you want me between 3 o'clock and 5 o'clock tomorrow, that's where you'll find me. He'll lock me in from the outside. And then there'll be a great victory. It's very important, you see, because if United lose, that means Manchester City, the big rivals, will be 2/3 of the way to a treble. And this would be catastrophic for Mike's ego. So we all need everybody to support United tomorrow, if that's all the same with you. Then I embarked on my Twitter adventure. Yeah, more on that shortly. This is my content sprint. Now, Monday, it was a bank holiday. Yes, I know, another one. In May, I could get used to this. Now, a holiday? No, not for me, no. I was busy with my content sprint, so a day off, nothing of the sort. As you can see, I was busy in Canva. Very busy in Canva, to the point it gave me this thing and said, you've done 50 designs. I thought, have I? Great. I carried on. And literally within the hour, it said, you've done 100 designs. So I'm getting on very well with Canva. But it was back to work on Tuesday. In the absence of any decent box sets, I did find a video that went live on Tuesday on YouTube. And it was called Apple's Secret Burial. Now, I'd heard the tale before, and it does sound like an urban legend. Basically, it was the late 80s, and there was this urban legend that Apple buried thousands of Lisa computers in a dump in Ohio. So I'd heard it before. I believe it's true. This documentary is about 27 minutes. You've got to see it. It's amazing. They've got an interview with a guy who owned these Lisas. So it's definitely worth seeing. That's the URL. You need to see that. It would be a very good investment of 27 minutes. I think I watched it while you were doing a webinar, so you missed it.
Oh.
Yeah, but it would be worthwhile you watching it as well. While I was doing that, there was an update to a piece of software that I use every day. And it's a favourite of mine because it's the first Mac app I ever bought, Rogue Amoeba's Audio Hijack. If you are very good with your audio, you might hear a slight difference tonight because I'm using one of the new features. They actually added 3 brand new features to it, and I'm using one of them. So let me know if you can tell. Obviously, it's supposed to be better, not worse, just saying. Right, so Wednesday, I think I was fixing stuff that had broken again. But there was an entire session on from Miro. So I had a look at that because I was trying to make my mind up between Miro and Whimsical. And I'm tending towards Whimsical at the moment, but I attended the whole thing anyway. Which took me on to Thursday. Now, for the next bit to make any sense, you need to know that I got a mail from Dropbox about a month ago. I believe it was in English. I recognised the words, but together they made no sense. So I'm like, okay, I'll have to look into that. Anyway, they went ahead without me, basically. And I had some files on Dropbox. And Dropbox deleted them for me, as you can see. Thanks for that. What it was, as you can see, the ones it's talking about in the source path, it's talking about bingo cards. And it was the data that we use to make said bingo cards, which we will be doing for Monday. You used to be able to create Google Sheets, Google Docs, Google Slides inside Dropbox. Now, you might wonder why on earth you would want to do that, but for me, it would be because I loathe Excel with a passion that knows no bounds, don't I, Mike? As much as Mike loves it, I loathe it. Just dates just don't work. So what I wanted to do was have a Google Sheet with my data in it, but I wanted it to be with the rest of my data, which was on Dropbox. And I was able to do that. And as you can see, they have unceremoniously converted it to an Excel file. So I was grumpy. But worse than that was line 5. There was an error. It was a Microsoft Office file. Doesn't tell me if it's Word, Excel or PowerPoint. And the conversion failed. So I deleted it for you. I thought, fine, but can you tell me which file it was? I've no idea. I have no idea which file. It just automatically deleted for me, as you can see, number 5 at the bottom. So, yeah, that was a great start to the week. Then I had to go and find the files and make sure they were actually working. They are, but they're now Excel files. And you can't do your bit in the web interface, so that won't work. So the entire workflow broke. I said to you before, didn't I, that nothing is working at the moment. It feels like we're going backwards. I mean, I've been using computers since a Spectrum, a Sinclair Spectrum was cutting edge. But honestly, in the last 10 years, we've gone backwards. Because now, if I've got files on Dropbox and I don't mark them as local, they can't be downloaded on demand. My Google Drive takes about 5 hours to update. And when a file appears in it and you duplicate it, it locks it. You can't rename it, you can't move it. So you have to go up to the web interface and deal with it. iCloud never syncs, ever. I've literally rebooted to make sure that everything's okay tonight, and iCloud's still not syncing, despite me killing the bird more than once. I give up with them all. I seriously give up with cloud services. So that took me to Friday, and as you can see, I was fixing stuff all day, because we had an entire workflow built around those files in Dropbox. And we went back and we revisited the workflow, didn't we? And of the 4 steps, all 4 of them needed radical surgery to work. So that was my week. I hope your week has been better. Let me know. Oh, I never had a ZX81. I wanted one, but my mum was like, oh, get the colour one. You know, I think the ZX81 was black and white with not much of a keyboard. I ended up getting it, unbelievably, if you're in the UK, you will know this company, Boots the Chemist. Our local branch of Boots the Chemist, which was obviously bigger than an average chemist, but it wasn't a department store, was nominated as an outlet for returns. So I think a Sinclair Spectrum at the time was about £150, and they got a consignment of them to sell at a reduced price, and I think I paid £35 for it. Oh, I thought it was Christmas. The only issue with that, and I remember this to this day, Mike, because I swear it was the last time I went on a bus, my car had to go in for MOT that day. So my dad took my car. I was never allowed to drive his, obviously. Don't get me going on that. So when my mum said, oh, they've just rung and said they're in, I said, I'll have to get a bus then. It was the last time I used a bus, and I swear I'm never going back. But it was worth it because I got my computer. Then I got a Sinclair. Then I got a Commodore 64. Then I got an Amiga. Oh, happy, happy days. Happy days. Right, so after I was fixing stuff... Oh, yes, my content sprint. Right, have I heard from Carol? Is she prepared to keep my secret, Mike? Did we hear from Carol? Right, what this is about, you may have noticed if you've been following me on Twitter, and if not, oh, Carol says she agrees. Awesome. Thank you, Carol. Right, you know, on the captain's table, there's been lots of stuff going on, level 1 and level 2 and all the rest of it, and it's all been confusing. Right, we're actually at the point now where the stuff that we've been working on, we're putting out there. The only problem with it was they had to rewrite level 2, which was fine. But now we've actually got to do it, not just keep it private. So they gave these instructions. For some things, you need to post them at 8:30 in the morning. Others, 8:30 in the evening. Others at 2 o'clock. And certain things at 11 o'clock on certain days. Yeah, I was confused. I like order. So my system was pretty much looking like that. And I thought, I can't do this. I cannot do it like this. if I'm going to do it, it needs to be organised. Well, the last set of instructions from them was, under no circumstances do you touch your Notion. So I went into Notion and I built a system. That's why we've got to keep it quiet, Carol. It was the only way. I knew I would not be able to do this. So I thought I would share it with you. It is not at the moment. This is exactly how you should use Notion. I think what they meant was don't go in there and start building and it take 6 months. I thought, no, I don't need that. I just need to know. I need a single place to put what I've written. And I need to know when I'm posting it, and that's it. That'll do. So I started off really, really basic. And I've only added a couple of fields from them. So I thought it was a good thing to show you. It's not my fully blown content management system. It is literally the minimum you could possibly have to make this work. So I have got it open over here. Let's bring it on. It's just a page that I've put in Mission Control. Yes, I've put the birdie on it, and yes, I've got some kind of fancy header on it, but that's just because I like to do that. But what that is a table. I haven't even done the master table thing. I've just left it at a table. Now, what we need to do is post 3 times a day. So I put the times in. So I actually started on Sunday night at 8:30, and then 8:30 on Monday morning, 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and 8:30 in the evening. I think I just had a status on it and a date and a time when I started. Then I decided, once you start getting into week 2 and week 3, because this is a 3-week sprint, I thought, if I don't have the week number, this is going to get confusing. And plus the fact, if you look at what happens, so these are all that I've posted. You can see I've got some scheduled. That one just went out. I saw that go out. And I saw an insect of some description from you, Carol. So that one's gone. These are scheduled to go. I've got some that are ready and some that are in progress. And you'll see some of these that aren't started. All I've done is just call them tweet. So it's a tweet that's going. Then there's an atomic essay and then another atomic essay. And at some point, let me load in the rest. There is one Twitter thread, one sole Twitter thread, which is there. Another atomic essay. And this thing's supposed to finish on the 18th. Obviously, the idea is that we carry on, that we get the bug and we carry on. But I thought just for the 3 weeks, I need something that can organise me. So you can see here, these are week 3. And as I scroll up, these are week 2. That, to me, is like the minimum organisation that I needed. I did contemplate, we had great fun with that, didn't we? Putting in an automatic equation in to work the week number out. It sort of worked and sort of didn't work. So I said, you know what? This is what I'm saying about keeping it simple. I said, it's fine. I'll just make it a select. Leave it. I'm not spending any time on it because I shouldn't be doing it. I also put a type on it, and the idea with putting a type on it was that I would then be able to create different views. Because although this is as simplistic as I could get, and you could do this in a spreadsheet, you'll see when we go into one of these why it's not in a spreadsheet. But I wanted to have different views. So I added a type. So you can see across the top, I created views for week 1, week 2, week 3, atomic essays and Twitter threads, and then created a view that was a calendar. So before we have a look at the views that I created and why I created them, what I wanted to do inside the item, so the below the fold that we're looking at, because that's all the metadata, I haven't got anything hidden. But if I go into one of these, so this was the first one that I sent, I wanted to make it easy for myself to see the tweet. So that's the tweet. The way the guys gave us a template, I could not get on with it. I thought it's ridiculous to write a tweet that's on multiple lines into multiple blocks and then have to try and copy them. So that's a code block, just a plain text code block. And the reason that I put the tweet in there is because I just have to hit copy and I've copied it. So there's none of this going in here and trying to make a selection. And it's even more difficult if I copy that and we go down to here and I just paste that in as plain text. Come on, you know you want to do it. That's what you would get if you just type it. And the problem with that is trying to select it, because each of these are separate blocks. You can also see that this has lost its mind, and I would then have to reformat these because these aren't sub-bullet points of the original. These should have that bullet point. So then I'd have to fix that. So I'd have to move that backwards till we are there. I could either do that with it, or I could delete that and use option 8 to put in a proper bullet, only that isn't working either. Cheers for that. Let's try again. No, that's not working. Oh, it works in the code block. So I would have to do that to fix it, and then I would have to make sure that all of these have a domino next to them. So they are totally separate. You can see you get popovers, flyovers, you name it, just trying to make this selection. And sometimes when you think you've got it, you've got a character missing or whatever. So that was why I locked the entire tweet in a code block. Now, the one thing that's missing from this is that a tweet has a maximum of 280 characters. And the problem with that is there's no count on that. There's no count anywhere in Notion. So what I had to do with it, which is a bit of a pain, is to copy it, when I've written it, copy it, paste it into Cot Editor, and then check the character count at the bottom. Obviously, you're thinking anything less than 280 is good. No. Apparently, Cot Editor can't count. So anything less than 276 is good, for reasons best known to itself. But once I've done that and I've checked it, then I paste it back in there, and then I'm ready to schedule it. So I also put the image underneath. That's what I was doing in Canva. Each one of these so far has got an image on it. That's not totally necessary, but I thought I would do it at least for the first week. So every one of these looks the same with a different status. So once it's written, I start off in not started, then in progress, and then ready to send. I have got a way to schedule these, so some of them are scheduled. I will show you that. And then when it's done, it goes into done. And that's what I've got there. So that's what I've been doing. Now, in terms of the views that I've built, obviously the first 3 are pretty simple. So all I did was filter it for everything in week 1. So I started at 8:30 on Sunday evening, which means that week 1 finishes at 2 o'clock on Sunday. So as I've said, that one's just gone. These are scheduled already, ready to go. Week 2, I'm not quite as ahead as I would like to be. I'm in the middle of the atomic essay, but the rest of them need to be worked on. And if you think that one's not started, you need to see week 3 because nothing's started. And I need a Twitter thread in week 3 as well. I didn't do a filter for tweets because there didn't seem to be much point. But if I did want to concentrate on the atomic essays, I created a view for that. And all I've done for this is go in, and I've got 2 sorts on it. I'm sorting first by date and secondly by time. Now, obviously, that doesn't make much sense with this one because they're all 11 o'clock. They go out at 11. But I was concerned whether the time, which is a select, would sort properly. But because I've put it in 24-hour format, it actually does. And then I just set the type to be an atomic essay. This has changed since we did our Notion 2020, and it's much better now. Instead of having to put in 2 of these, you could just put in ticks if you wanted 2 of them. So you didn't have to, you could do it in one drop down rather than add multiple things to it. And that is the filter that I've got on there. The Twitter thread says only 1 that we've got to do, which is that one. It's scheduled for the 13th of June. And finally, I decided I'd have a calendar. I didn't need a calendar, obviously, but I thought, oh, they're actually going out on a certain date at a certain time. So you know, let's add a calendar. So that's what I've done so far. That takes up to the 4th, doesn't it? This is by month. So as I carry on in there, you can see that's the first full week in June, the second full week in June. And I guess I've got to work after that as well. I've got to do things after that, but I'm not thinking about that at the moment. I don't use that view much, I'll be honest. That was a little bit gratuitous, but we're not telling Dickie and Cole, so it doesn't matter, does it? Definitely not telling them that. Now, I did think once I'd done it, I do have a full content management system. So for things like MacBites and After Hours and blog posts, there's a full content management system. But the metadata that this needed was different. And I also thought I needed to try it first. I didn't want to take something as tiny as a tweet and shove it into a system with something as large as a 3-hour live show. So that's why it's separate at the moment. I don't know if I'll stick with that. Don't know if I'll keep it that way. I personally think there is benefit to me in having the content where I can write the content in hand and keep it somewhere. Now, we're told you don't need to do that. We're told you just need to schedule it, let it publish, and then go search Twitter for it. I have no idea how I would find a thing on Twitter if I did that. And I don't really trust with Twitter, with our friend Elon in charge, that what works today will work tomorrow. There might be no search tomorrow. I don't know. So I am not comfortable relying on that. But it did make a massive difference to me when I started working on week 1. I was at the point where I'm like, have I scheduled day 1? Where am I up to on day 2? That solved my problem. But I must admit, I did feel a smidgen guilty going into Notion when I was expressly told not to go into Notion. But I couldn't do it any other way. If I want to move things around, it's easier to move it around than it is to go into the scheduling system and do that. Anyway, these ones are scheduled, so let's have a look what I've got in week 2. Right, I've got this success story one that is ready to send, but it's not scheduled. It's going on the 5th at 8:30 in the morning, so we'll have a look at it. And all I would need to do to schedule it is to copy the text and then find this graphic. Now, I do have the graphic in there. I also have the graphic in a folder. It's not really organised at all. I'll be honest with that. I wouldn't want to have to be forced to download it from here, but I could do if I couldn't find it any other way. So what I'm doing on my other screen is opening it up and seeing if I could actually find it. I probably could if I turned it into thumbnails. So I'll show you what I've got in here. So this is all the graphics that I've made for this so far. I've got some in PNG and some in JPEG because they were too big. And I've got like different versions of it, like this one here. So the failure to success thing, rather than just keep posting the same one and you recognise it, they're in different colours. So I've got all kinds of stuff in there. I just need to find the right one. So you can see I've put in here this one, which is Success Story 1. But I also have a version where it's on a white background, not kind of very, very pale lemon. And I've got another version that is on the Scrivener colour, because all of these are about Scrivener. So I'll stick with that one as the one that I want, and I've got my text here. So this is what I'm doing to schedule it, because being honest, what are the chances of me being able to post live at 8:30 in the morning, Mike?
Not much.
Not much. Not unless I'm up from the night before. But other than that, 8:30, not happening. So I said to Mike, it's going to have to be scheduled. Now, for many years, we did schedule tweets with Hootsuite, as you know. What was the last price of that? I think it was 2 kidneys and a liver, wasn't it?
A lot.
Yeah, it was. Jamie looked that up and said it had gone up since the last time it went up, when I was horrified. So Hootsuite, way too expensive as far as I was concerned. But then I remembered many years ago I had a Buffer account. So I went and had a look at Buffer again. And when it got to the stage that it was saying to me, log in. No, create an account it was. Create an account. It said there's already an account. And I thought, I was right. I do have a Buffer account. So I logged in with it, dusted it off, needed to confirm the email again. Said I didn't qualify for a trial because I'd already had a trial, but I'm pretty sure I never had a trial. But it is offering me a 14-day trial. But if you want to try this for free, you can add 3 channels. So a channel is a Twitter account. It could be your Facebook page. It could be LinkedIn. It could be Instagram. So you can see that I've added Elaine Giles on Twitter and MacBites on Twitter. So what we're looking at here is the week. I do wish it started on a Monday, but never mind. I guess in this case, my first one was Sunday. So there's what I've got on Sunday. So in here is everything that's gone out this week. So these are all the 8:30s in the morning. These are the 2 o'clocks in the afternoons. These are the 8:30s in the evening. And from Wednesday, Wednesday was the first time that MacBites mentioned 197. We're also starting to mention WWDC. So they're all in there as well. So at this point, we've just had the two tonight. So this one is the MacBites one, and it went at 2 minutes to 9 and said we're live with a link. And the one before that, the how to A-structured, that one there, that one was my 8:30. So they've gone. So that's it for today. But tomorrow you can see is a lighter colour. And as you go into there, you can see my 8:30 in the morning is just above that. And there's the others that are going. So this one is a MacBites one, and this is going to be going at 11:05 tomorrow morning. And another one later in the evening, which is saying it's 48 hours until WWDC. And this is a sneak peek of what's going up on mine tomorrow. So for free, you can have 3 channels, and on each of those channels you can schedule 10 posts. So you get 30 posts in all on 3 channels. So if we move across to next week, you can see these ones are pretty much mostly MacBites. We do a T minus 5 hours, minus 4 hours, minus 3 hours. Now, obviously, I need a minus 2 hours and a minus 1 hours, and we're live now. But I couldn't schedule those because I had 10 in the queue. Now, obviously, 2 of them have been posted, so now this is saying 8. So now I can add 2 more to the queue for this, and I can add 6 more to the queue for me. So that one was actually, that's the 8:30 one. So it was Monday the 5th at 8:30 in the morning, the one that I copied. So to add that, I click on the plus, make sure that you're choosing from the correct account, or the rest will make no sense. Paste your tweet in. Make sure you've not gone over the character limit at the bottom, which I haven't. Luckily, you don't lose any characters when you add an image. So I'm dragging the image in from my Finder over there. That will be previewed over here, and that's it, I'm done. Apart from, when you click on an hour, it comes in at the top of the hour. So because that one needs to be 8:30, I need to click Edit. And in here, I need to choose 30 there. This is going to be interesting because I need the done button, so I'll have to move it up. Right, so 8:30 a.m. on the 5th. Again, I'll be in bed. I'll be asleep. And there we go. So all I need to do then is to schedule that. And that will appear on my calendar in here on Monday before the MacBites ones. So there we go. Now, for reasons best known to itself, instead of saying 9, it then says 1. So then I have to refresh it to see how many I've got left. And I will have 1 more left. Now, I don't know if I've got one that I could post. Oh, no, it's saying 7. That's interesting, isn't it? So, what did it say, 6? Yeah, I think I'm right. So, back into my content sprint in here. This one is now set to scheduled, so I know that that one's good to go. I haven't done my atomic essay yet. I know, I'm naughty. In fact, I'm not even sure that should be on Tuesday. But this one is 2 o'clock on Monday. So again, I am going to click on that. I am going to go to buffer. I am going to move across here to Monday. And I already have one going at 2 o'clock, which is the MacBites one, but that's not an issue. So choose that one again, paste the stuff in, make sure we're not, I'm -1 on that. But I think that's because it puts a space at the end, so I can delete that out and then it's bang on. Right, I can't remember what colour the image was, so let's go back and have a look. It was that one, which I think is the first one. So I'm dragging that into there, and that one is then ready to go as well. So it doesn't take that long to sort these out. If you want more than the 10, then you're going to have to pay for it. Then it gets really weird. For free, you can have 3 channels with 10 scheduled posts on each. So if you're thinking to yourself, well, I could pay for 1, because 1 would cost you £5 a month. You can do that. But unfortunately, you cannot have 1 paid for channel and 2 others free. It's either 3 free or you pay for 3, and each one is £5 a month. So that's how Buffer works. It's still a heck of a lot cheaper, trust me on that, than Hootsuite. I would say Hootsuite probably has more features. But this is perfectly adequate to schedule stuff, and I'm not paying that with Hootsuite. That was ridiculous. I have always said I think they should have grandfathered you on something reasonable. Even if they took down, I think you could have 10 channels with them. Even if they took that down, and you could have multiple people, but they didn't. They just said, right, it's going to cost this, and that was that. Right, do we have any questions on that, Mike?
No.
Right. What that looks like when it's sent is in here. Oh, I've got a notification. I've no idea what that is. I probably shouldn't look. But this is my profile, and this is what it looks like when it's... Now, really, you should all be looking at... You should be able to tell me this. Obviously, I've retweeted some stuff from MacBites as well, but ultimately, all the stuff that I've posted is in there, and that is what it looks like. Should we have a look at... No, leave the notification alone. Because yesterday you said, oh, you've had a reply to that. I said, was that the spam? And then Mike went off to have a look. And yes, it was. It was somebody kindly offering that they could boost my posts, which obviously wouldn't be a bad idea, but that's cheating, so leave it alone. So that's what I've been up to. But remember, it's a secret. We're not telling Dickie and Cole. I'd be carpeted for it. But I couldn't work where... You know, I've got other stuff in here, like Devon Thinks stuff that I've retweeted and replies to people. I could not be using this. I mean, I know we've got search Twitter, and I know there's some kind of like black belt search terminology. I am not privy to it. I have no idea how to craft a search that it would only search my tweets and it would only search for certain words. You know, and in the end, even if I did that, so I want to retweet this one, then I've got to get in here. And you see, it's not actually that easy to try and select everything. And then I've had to go and find the graphic. No. I just want it where I want it. That's how I work. But being expressly told that would be very naughty, I should have left it alone. But I didn't, because I'm bad. Right, so that's what I've been up to. So do follow along on Twitter. Give things a like. Let me know that somebody's actually reading them. Okay, that is that one. I will move on to the next one if we've got no questions, which is, this came as not exactly a huge surprise because they teased us on Tuesday. They teased us on Tuesday with what looked like the top half of the icon, but not the bottom half of the icon. And people were going absolutely mad. Oh, you've added pencil support in the mobile version, and I thought that's highly unlikely. Looking at it, it looked like a new icon. When it was finally announced, people had by this stage said, if this is nothing but a new icon, I'm going to be really peeved. Only that wasn't the word they used. Yeah, it was a rebrand. So that was what we had, which I must admit I thought was clean and beautiful. When I saw the new one, bad words were said, weren't they, Mike?
Very bad words.
I've warmed to it since, but trust me, when we went from that to that, I had reservations. I had major reservations. I think what swung me in the end was, you're not stuck with it if you don't like it. That's the first thing. And it was more than an icon change. It was a whole rebrand, a complete rebrand of the whole thing. Not just in terms of the look of it, but in terms of the language and promotional information provided. So I think this is good news in the long term. So it is that's what the website is looking. Yeah, that's the new brand in total. The website is much better. It used to say a second brain for you forever. The problem with that was many people had no idea what a second brain was. So why did they want one or need one? Now it's all about thinking, and it does say private and flexible note-taking app. So now it's actually saying exactly what it is. The reason it's saying get Obsidian for the Mac, for me, is because I took the screenshot on there. If you're on Windows, that would say Windows. If you want it for another platform, then you click the option next to it. But I think overall, the entire website is much more businesslike. It's classier. And trust me, the icon will grow on you, even if it's only a smidgen. All of the same information is on the site. It's just put across in a much better way. It just looks much more professional. The other thing is, they've made it that you can subscribe to, I think it's the forum and the changelog. So the changelog is now on the website. So everything is available from the website. And you can see that the other thing that they've rebranded is not just the icon that's gone purple, but the actual Obsidian next to the icon is now, that's their professional brand. So let's go and have a look at that, because they have made it that if you detest the icon, and I'll be the first to say, oh, got 2 notifications now, and I must not be distracted by my notifications. Obsidian, I have it in here. What was I saying? Oh, yeah, the price hasn't changed. The features haven't changed. The upgrade was to add the icon. Now, even if you've upgraded, it could be that you still have the old icon. That's just a quirk of how Obsidian is working. To get the new icon, you actually need to download the installer, even if you have got the correct version. Even if you've updated in the app, you need to get the installer and install that over the top of what you've got. Your data's totally safe. It's just that's the way that it works. So as I say, everything else is the same in here. The account's the same, the options for Catalyst are the same, and the pricing is the same. In fact, there was a recent change in the pricing. It is free forever, unless you're using it commercially. But the add-ons, Obsidian Sync is $8 a month, and that's for 5 volts or 6 volts, one or the other. But Publish used to be $16, and that's halved. And that has been updated as well. Now, that is with yearly billing. I do believe monthly billing is a bit more, so then you're looking at 120. And now that actually says US dollars, but when I got billed in it, I got billed in Canadian dollars, which confused me because I didn't know whether to pay with pounds or dollars, US dollars. Because I thought, well, what would be better for a Canadian dollar? And I had no idea. But that's what you've got with that. So as I say, nothing has changed in there. Now, in here, you've got your FAQs and stuff. That is just telling you basically what I've told you. If you are education or non-profit, there is a discount. So there's a 40% discount on Sync and Publish if you fit the bill there. Now, in here, there's also now a blog. So at the bottom, all of the news is going to be coming out on the blog. So this is the first thing that's on there, the new icon. There's something interesting in here, which is really useful. It's not obvious that you could do this, but you can change the icon in the app. How you do that depends on the operating system that you're working on. These are the alternatives that you have, but you're not stuck with those either. If you keep going, you get to this part of it, and this allows you to generate an icon of your choosing. So the background for this is like almost black, and the foreground is the purple, Obsidian purple. My first thought was, wouldn't this look better on white? And then I thought, well, maybe not. But it's an option. So having done that, what you are then able to do is save it. You can save it as a PNG. You can even save it as an SVG, which when I think of what Apple have done with icons is great. Because Apple apps used to have icons in, I think they were like 256. And at the time, that was good enough to put on a slide when you're talking about an app. And then they went all the way up to over 1,000. Was it 144? Something. It was a great quality. And then they took them back down to 256. And it was because I think people were stealing the icons. So considering this is Obsidian's intellectual property, I think it's fantastic that they let you download it as an SVG, if that is what you want. And then you can use it as your icon for your version of it. Now, there isn't an option in here to change it back to the logo that it had, but if you preferred that logo, what you could do is to go into the installer of the last version before the app and extract the ICOs, which is the icons file at the end, and you could use that, which would turn it back to what it was. Or you can go in here and do all kinds of magic and download it as whatever you need. Now, PNG and SVG work on the Mac. If you want to try this on Windows, you're going to need an ICO or an ICNS file. Now, I only changed the background colour, but of course I could change the foreground colour as well. So I could make it almost black and white, I could make it pale, I could make it much darker, And I can move along at the bottom. You might want it green. I don't know if you want it green, but you might. You can make this whatever colour you like and then download it. You also have here that you can go back to it, and you've got the option at the end which will randomise it. It will shuffle it between various options. I am so not having the pink in any description. And there you go. So that's the icon. You're not stuck with it. I think it's easier to change it on the Mac, but on Windows there is actually a dedicated option to change your app icons, which you know Apple, they don't want you to do that. You've got to validate yourself 17 times. But you can do it if you want. And like I say, although this does not give you the shape of the original icon, as long as you can find the original icon, and trust me, people are posting it all over for the ones who don't like the new one, you can turn it back to the old one if you want. So let's have a straw poll in the chat. Who prefers the new one and who prefers the old one, and who would change the colour? Let me know. I haven't bothered. As I say, initially I was horrified. I thought, no. Reading what their logic was in changing it didn't change my mind. I am a Catalyst member, so when I went to my iPad, I have the beta version and it downloaded automatically. So now on my iPad, I've got this black icon with the purple thing on it, and I don't know how to change it on there. I don't think there's an option to change it yet. So as I'm looking at it, I'm like, oh, that's terrible. It needs to be on a white background. It's terrible. And honestly, within a couple of hours, I started warming to it. I don't think I'm there fully yet, but I'm almost there. Let's say that. I'm almost there. Right, let's move that out of the way. And where am I heading next?
We've got lots of comments.
Right, feed them back to me, Mike.
Right, I'll need to go back through the chat.
I'm going to just put that up while you do.
Carol prefers the original one.
Totally my first thought.
Renee likes the new one.
Ooh.
Jammy lost all his community plugins updating.
Oh no.
Carol updated but still see the original icon. Deb likes the new one. Oh, hang on.
Oh, we've got some love for the new
Deb
one.
likes the old one.
Oh, no.
Simon likes the new one. Kim likes the old one, but we'll use the new one. And Annie thought the old one looked a bit like a coffin.
I never thought of that. As I say, I'm warming to it. That's as far as I'll go. I'm warming to it. But I was horrified initially. I seriously was horrified.
And Ken says the new icon's a bit too busy.
That was my first thought, that the shape, it lost its simplicity, which is unfortunate. I did think it was beautiful as it was. I think this one's got kind of more in the way of gradients. So one thing to think about would be like, well, can't we have the old one with the gradients? That would be nice. But obviously, that's not what they're planning. But as I say, you can change it back. And I think, was it Carol that said she's got the old icon?
Yeah. Upgraded,
but they got that. Well, now you know why. Because you need to download the installer. So you can download the installer, I think, from the back end. I think there's a button to download the installer. But it's as simple as going to their homepage and doing it from there. And then once you install the installer over what you've got, you will then have the new icon if that is what you want. But if you want to change the icon, then it's actually fairly straightforward. It used to be easier on the Mac, and now you've got to validate a million times. But it can be done. And as I say, on Windows, there's a dedicated option. So I think you just right-click on your app in Windows, bring up the properties, and the properties in Windows like a multi-tabbed window. In there, at the bottom, one of the options is a button, and it says change the icon. You click that, you go find the icon, and you're done. The only problem in Windows is it needs to be an ICO or an ICNS file, whereas the Mac uses something totally different. If I was changing it on the Mac, I would probably change it to an SVG if I could do, because then it will scale properly, etc. But I just love the fact that they've enabled you to download your own version. I just think it's a shame. There will be people who do much prefer the old icon, and that's not an option unless you get it from somewhere else. Right, okay. So we've got anything else on that now? Nope. Is Carol now downloading the updater?
No, Carol's going to stick with the old one.
Well, that's a good way to stick with the old one as well. Just don't update the updater. I do read in the forum, that there are benefits of updating the updater, But to me, it's like, that's a bit weird. That is a bit weird. This is the only time I've had like a solid reason to update the updater. It's like, you're not going to get the new icon unless you update the updater. So I must admit, I did do it. But not before I'd read on the forum and got the magic link to a GitHub repository from Obsidian themselves where you can download all the old versions. So I thought, that's handy. I can always go back if I need it. And I did extract the icons as an ICNS file, just in case. But I'm living with it at the moment. Let's just say that. I'm living with it at the moment. Right, so last week in Obsidian, we looked at the QuickAdd community plugin. And I said it does 4 things, one of which I find totally redundant, and one of which is immensely complex. Only useful, it's called a macro, only useful if you've got like a multi-step thing. So I looked at templates last time. So what I'm going to look at this time is capture. So I've got it open. I just need to come out of here because now it's doing weird things, but then it would be, wouldn't it? So let's go into there. Right, this I think is where we left it last week. I'm sure we left it last week at this point. So I'm bringing it onto the screen. It did update, so that's why I've got this what's new showing here. So if I whip this over there, you can see all of the shiny new. We've got a new... I'm glad it said new app icon and not new improved app icon. It'll grow on you, trust me, it will. So a few fixes, but mainly it was the branding change with that. But people the ones who didn't like the icon were so disappointed that I think they will speed up what's coming out next. Because people want pencil support. I don't want pencils, but I don't care. I really don't care. I'm happy to type, but other people want pencil support. Right, so let's get rid of that and we'll close all of this up. So we've got simple, we don't even need that open. Right, so first of all, I will go into the preferences. We'll make sure that we haven't had another little update. No, we haven't. You'll see here that this is where it tells you that you've got the current version, which is 1.3.5, but underneath in the brackets, it tells you that you've got what installer version you used. So Carol's would be saying whatever version she used, but it wouldn't be 1.3.5. So because these match, that's how come I got the icon. Now the changelog, as I've said, is on their website, so you can go and do that if you want. You can check for updates. I doubt there'll be an update with this. And because I'm on the Catalyst program, I get the insider builds, which is this option down here. And I automatically install these updates. Looking at the fact that the icon needs you to manually do something in terms of use the installer, turning automatic updates on doesn't seem to be that catastrophic to me. Obviously, I wouldn't do it with system updates. That way madness lies. But in here, I have done. So if I don't check for an update, but an update is available, when I restart Obsidian, it will open with the changes log in front of me and let me know that it has actually updated. But because catastrophic updates seem to be in the installer, you would have to manually do that if you wanted things like the icon. Right, so in here we had QuickAdd last week, and what we did was we added a new MacBites After Hours show and a new Our Parishes newsletter. And these were templates. So I already had a template for MacBites and I already had a template for the newsletter. So what made that better via QuickAdd rather than the templates? And it was because I was automatically filing them where they lived. So I was making a new file. I was naming the file. So the Our Parishes newsletter one added a date to it and automatically filed it. So that meant it didn't get shoved in the inbox for me to manually file later. So that was the benefit of the templates. We are moving on to something else that it can do now. So the first thing I'm going to need to do to make this work, and I don't even need to do that. So shall we see? Yeah, we'll do the whole thing and hopefully it'll work. Although if I do that, it might not be in the right place. No, let's do it properly. Right, so I'm going to make a new file. So let's Command and N on that. And I'm going to call this random notes. random notes. So what I'm doing with this, I know I could put these on my daily page, but imagine that you're sitting there and you're working through stuff and you suddenly think, oh, I need to deflea the dog. Which we don't need to think of that, do we? Because I do have that. First of every month, she gets her frontline flea treatment. Related to that, she's not speaking to us tonight, is she?
Oh, she is.
Oh, she is now.
She is now.
She is now. Now she's got over it. But she had the trauma of it. But it's things like that you just think of. I would put them on the daily note. But if I'm deep in something else, I want, one, to get it off my mind. And two, I want it in a place where I can go back and have a look. Now, the reason that I'm not putting this in the daily notes, many people do. I'm not doing that because of the way my daily notes are organised. The other issue I've got is that means processing it on a daily basis. But if I created something called random notes or collection point or whatever you want to call it, all my, what I'd call post-it notes would be in a single place. So I've created this page for that. Now, I've got the default set that went in the inbox. So there's my random notes. But if I want to keep my inbox clean and tidy, then I could move that into my resources. So it's just not in the inbox. Right, so there's my note. So let's get rid of this. I've no idea why we've got an untitled on that. No idea. Let's get rid of it. So we've just got our random notes. Right. So back into here, and I'm going to create a new QuickAdd, but this time it's not a template. I have my capture, macro and multi, and this time it's a capture. So I've set it to capture. I'm now going to put in there capture so we know what it is, and make a random note. Right, that adds my choice in here and tells me that it's a capture type. And I'm going to go into the cog and start to fill in what I need to for this. So this is a capture and it's saying file to capture to, and I don't want it to capture to the active file because I could be on my daily page, I could be anywhere. And if you do want to just capture to the page that you're on, make sure you enable that. But in this case, I want this to capture, but I want it to do it silently so I don't see it. Magic, it just happens. That's what I need. That's what I need it to do. So I'm leaving that. I want to capture it to a file. So obviously in here I've got some files and I called it random. So let's see if it can find it. It can. So I want it to capture to that file. Now, just in case I've deleted that file, there is an option to create the file if it doesn't exist. Now, I know that it does exist, but you never know. It could get deleted. You even have the option, if you want to create this file, to base it on a template. Now, for me, it's just going to be a file of random notes, so I don't need to base it on a template. But if you did, you could do that. Right, then it's asking you, when you add stuff to this, do you want the value to be a task? Not everything that I would add to it is a task. But if I wanted to create a task system, then that is brilliant. Do I want it to write at the bottom of the file or put it at the top? I want it at the bottom because I want to be persuaded. Right, to get to what I've added today, I would need to scroll past what I've added before, but it should be processed on a regular basis. So if I write it to the top, the stuff at the bottom I'm never even going to see. So I want it written to the bottom. Right, if you want to track where you were when you added this random note, you can append a link to the page that you're on at the moment. Now, I don't really want that, but I can see there would be circumstances when you might want that. It would create an automatic backlink. Right, then you've got insert after. So insert the capture after a certain line. Now, on my daily note, you might remember that I have at the bottom at H1 that says quick notes. And that's where my daily quick notes go. So I would say insert after the quick notes. Right, you can choose whether the file that you're capturing to is opened when you've done it. And I don't want that. No, leave it alone. I don't want to see it. I just want to be sure that it will actually be added and it will work. Then you need to specify your format here. So I need to toggle that on, and then I'm going to specify the format. So if I want it starting with a bullet point, I can put that in. The next thing I'm probably going to want is the time. So I would capture this in an interstitial journaling kind of way, which means that every line that I add has a timestamp at the beginning of it. So to do that, I need to open the curly brackets and it's date that I want. Now, you might think, well, just a minute, it's time that you want. Yes, but this second one will add the date. This will add the time. What you can do here, so you know exactly what you're adding, is put that in. So HH for 2 hours and MM for minutes. And I've got that in there. Then I'm going to carry on. So I want a space and a dash and a space. And then I want it to prompt me for my text. So I'm going to put that in there. And I'm going to go for value in there. And that's it. So let's see if that works. Oh, it's always one of those moments, isn't it? Now, what it's doing here is showing you what that will look like. So the dash at the beginning is my bullet point, and then I've got my hours and my minutes, and then a space, a dash and a space, and then the value of whatever I tell it. That's the plan. That's the plan. Now, I'm making sure at this point I don't need to click add anywhere, and that I haven't. It looks like I'm okay with that. So that is up here. Now, how you would access that, you can have it added. So if you Command and P and type random, you would just have to press enter and it would do a random note. To do that, I need to go into there and put the, enable the lightning bolt is what I need to do with it. Right, so this is where it should go. If I bring up Command and P and type random, and it prompts me, so what's my random note? My first random note, and OK. Now, obviously, I am in the file that it is adding to, but I need to be in that file, don't I? I need to be there so I can see that it's actually working. But at this point, I can close the file and I can open up anything else. So I've no idea what we've got in here. Oh, this is my notes from the Ship 30 thing. Right, so imagine that I'm in here and I'm reading it and I'm working it and I get told, you know, you mustn't touch Notion. And I think, oh, now you've reminded me I need to do X in Notion. Right, so what I do is Command and P, random note, press enter, comes up, capture a random note. It automatically is sorting the date out and I'm looking in here and I'm thinking, research the new 3 options in Notion, and OK. It doesn't look like anything's happened. We hope that it has. To be able to see that, we need to open the random note. So we open it and there it is. My first random note at the top and then my research the new 3 options underneath. So it's a great way of putting that in there and capturing random thoughts. One thing you might want to think about, if you empty this on a daily basis, then you're good to go. But if you don't, if you're working on it weekly, you may choose at the beginning of that to put the day in it as well. So how you would do that is go back into here. You would edit the options that you've just put in there. And where you've got this, you would put something customized in there. So if you wanted the whole thing in it, because I can imagine random notes sitting there for 3 years, can't you, Mike? That basically describes my OneNote, you know.
Probably describes mine as well.
I randomly the other day went into OneNote, total aside here, but funny, randomly went into OneNote the other day, and I get upset with OneNote if anything goes below the fold, because then it's like I can't see it, and if I can't see it, it doesn't exist. And it opened up at all my Scrivener notes, and I thought, how handy, because for the next 3 weeks I'm talking about Scrivener. Amazing. Right, so in here I'm going to put Y for the year, and then month, day. We'll put a dash in, and you can see the preview at the bottom. Now, if you're thinking, no, I definitely do it this year, then you don't need the Y. Up to you. I will leave it like that. So all I've done is actually change the format of it. I'm going to do exactly the same, bring it up with random note and put in there, leave Notion alone. Naughty, naughty, and add that. Then go and open the random note, and it's added it down here with my new format. So if you were leaving it in for multiple days and you needed to know what day it was, or in my case, what year it was, just saying, then you could do that. It's as simple as that. Do we have any questions on that?
We don't.
Oh, nothing on that. Everyone's asleep again, aren't they? They're asleep again. I actually think that is useful. I do keep my random notes separate from my daily note, but I do have what I call quick notes at the bottom of my daily note. So why don't I add these random notes at the bottom of the daily note? And it's to do with the format of my daily note. Not that this could not inject it in the right place, it could. I would say to it, I want you to inject these random notes underneath the H1 for quick notes. The problem it had was you need to tell it where the files are. You can give it a name of the file, but I have my daily notes organised by month, so I would need to update the insert every month to make it work. So I decided I'd just have my random notes separately, and I would process them and then put them where they belong. But if all your daily notes live in a single folder, then you can do that and it would be a lot easier than the way that I've got it done. But I like the way that I've done it, so I'm keeping it that way. Just saying, keeping it that way. Right, so if we haven't got any questions on that, we can move on. Right, I'm going to close Obsidian down because you know what this machine's like when it gets hot. We nearly killed it last summer, didn't we? No, we didn't quite manage it last summer, but it'll happen. Freebies I've got now. Why are you not moving? All right, let's bring you back. Come on, no, you want to move. Right, there is coming from Design Cuts a whole series of videos, live sessions about Procreate. And one of the things that they have provided is 100 free Procreate brushes. Now what they are, it's a collection of 12 different brush collections. But each one is a sample. So if there's 100 of them and there's 12, then it's looking like 8 and a bit, maybe 8 to 10 free sample brushes from these collections of brushes that they've got. I'm not a big Procreate user, but I know some of you guys are. So there's those are the 12 that they've got from there. You need to go to Procreate courses-freebies. I'm not sure if you can get there from a link on their site or not. I have no idea. But that's where you need to go for that, and you'll be able to download them and test them out. And I think the idea is, of course, if you find some that are great, then you will buy the entire collection of them. So there you go. There's your freebies. Are you ready, Mike?
Yes.
If this works, it'll be a miracle. But, keep the faith. Right, we are preparing for WWDC on Monday. Now, for us, that means bingo cards. Only a giggle. I remember a few people started taking them a little bit seriously. It's a giggle, because if some of the things that we've picked come up, you're going to need smelling salts to bring me round. Wasn't one of them that I'm appointed to the Apple board?
Yeah.
Yeah. Can't see that happening anytime soon. Certainly not Monday. Just saying. But maybe, I think another one is that Timmy agrees to come on MacBites. I guess that's more likely. Just not much. Right, I've shown you how I did this in Affinity Publisher before, but we've never shown you the entire process, soup to nuts. So hopefully this is going to be not only a live demo, but it's not really a demo. This is us doing the entire process, and at the end of the demo, massive air quotes, you will be able to download the bingo card of your choice for Monday. You will be able to join us and tick things off as they happen, like Timmy and his reality glasses. His reality isn't my reality. So, let me show you how we started going about that, because it all broke. Yeah, it was one of those things. So, I'm going to bring this back on, and I'm working all neatly in my different settings in here. So, we need... This is what we've got on the site, and on the site we already have the placeholder for Monday's show, which is a MacBites Live.
Kim wants to have power stance.
We could add power stance, but that's a bit tricky. But yes, that's a good one. That's good. I think we've got praying hands, haven't we?
Yeah.
The praying hands is always there. So this is just telling you that there is an event and where to go, which is MacBites FM, MacBites.fm. But also on here, we have available the bingo cards, etc. So we needed, this is how we would go about this. So we are in MacBites 2.0. This is where everything starts from. And if I'm doing that, we need to go into the wiki. And the wiki, this is filtered for all the MacBites stuff. So we have codes, we have image sizes, file names, the MacBites Advent mails, all kinds of stuff. And we have in here a workflow for the bingo cards, which was perfect, if I do say so myself. However, you'll see we have retired because it broke. This was to do with those files that you saw that were in Dropbox. They broke. Well, they converted them. Thank you for that. Right. So the whole thing broke. It's 4 stages to this. So the first step, we literally follow this through verbatim. So I need to open the bingo cards master data file. So I will show you what that looks like. This was the one that was in Dropbox. So I'm bringing the Finder on, but this is in Dropbox. So this is what they look like. I do have my Dropbox parrot, as you know. So if we start off at Dropbox, I've got my lovely migration report informing me that they've unceremoniously deleted something. So I'm leaving that where it is at the moment. But in my areas, I have an area for MacBites. In there, I've sub-parrot it. So I do have an inbox, and I also have MacBites Studio, which is where all of the editing takes place. So they're exceptions to para. But the bingo cards are a resource. So inside my resources, I then have bingo cards. And that is what we've got in here. The way that this is organised, until it broke, but we fixed it since then. So this is version 2. You will see that at the top, I have generic resources. And underneath that, I have a folder for each of the ones that we have done inside Affinity Publisher. So the first one we did was WWDC 2021, and that was the first time that I think we'd had the mail merge available. Because prior to that, how did we do it prior to that? We used to do it in Pages, and then Apple broke that. Thanks for that. I think we had to do it in Word, didn't we? Oh, the shame. Anyway, Affinity Publisher came out with data merge and we're all sorted. So these are the previous ones, starting with the first one we did. So you can see here I've got pre-merges, black and white, and merged ones, and all kinds of stuff. We've refined it since then. The last one we did was last September. So what we have is 3 folders. So we'll go into that. We've got the layout files, of which there's 2. One is the pre-merge and one is the merged file. Then we have the PDF, of which there would be 1 in this case. These are the black cards. And this is merged. So that has 101 pages in it. And it looks something like that as long as you're there to preview. There we go. So you can see we've got different cards in with different settings in here. And with all of the branding. And the last one for Jonathan, who has a favourite number. We make 101 of them. 1 to 100 and 613 for Jonathan. It's his favourite number. Right, so that's what we've got in there. Once we've done all of that, we then have to separate the cards out into individual cards. So you just download the one card that you want. That's how it works. Now, if we go... can I go in here? Let me get in there. Can't I preview that somewhere? I want you to preview any news. I don't really want you to preview. I just want to see the page. Right, that's what the page looks like right now. So it's MacBites-bingo-cards. Obviously, this is last September's. I'm showing you this because it needs to be edited as well. So what happens in here is we change the poster. We change the line underneath it, which is the caption. But just imagine that we had to update every single one of these links for the 101 bingo cards. So when we looked at this and became scientific with it, it was like, we need to come up with a workflow that's as easy as possible. And we will be updating this page live tonight so it actually works, she said. No, I'm confident it'll work. It will. Right, so let's get back to where we were, which was in here. Right, so this is what needs to happen. So I'm going to move this out of the way in here because this is where it all starts. So I'm in the folder. I have my generic resources at the top and I have all of the previous ones we've done there. This bottom one, it has ZZZ on it, so it's at the bottom, and NIU means not in use. So this is all the stuff we've done in the past that we're not using now because Dropbox broke it. This one is our template. So within this zip file, we have everything we need to generate one of these folders. So step one. In fact, I don't do that at this point, do I? Hang on, do I? No, I don't. I could do, but my actual starting point, I will come back and I will do that. But my starting point is in my generic resources. My generic resources are 2 spreadsheets. And again, old versions of those spreadsheets. I know there's 3 spreadsheets. That's because Mike's magic takes a while, doesn't it? You need a better wand, dear. Just saying. So we do have a demo file, but this one is the real file. This is the absolute real file. Now, normally it's a Google Sheet, but obviously it's now an Excel file, which means I have got to open Excel, which means I could be grumpy. It depends how long Excel's going to take to open. As you can see, not exactly instant, but there you go, it's better than nothing. Right, what I've got in here, did we change this, Mike, on the demo thing? I think we did, didn't we?
Yeah.
Yeah, we did. I'm looking now and we did. So what I've got down here, I've got that set to demo, but obviously it's not a demo. That is now WWDC 2023. Right, so this becomes, if we look at this one, this was what we had last time, mainly about the iPhone. This one was WWDC last year, then we had Peak Performance, whatever that was. So this is WWDC. And we sat here, didn't we, at 7 o'clock tonight, and we filled these in. So we've got in here a list of 70 things that could, or maybe not, would happen, like Apple to bid for Manchester United, and Elon joining the board. So some could happen, some are probably less likely to happen than others. But what I would do is I would sit here with this file and I would type in 70 things. So there was a story came out this week that Apple were going to release the AirPods in 5 colours and decided not to. No idea why not. So I added in that they will release these AirPods in the missing 5 colours. So that's the kind of thing that I put in here. At that point, I'm done. Thankfully, don't have to be in Excel too long, do I?
As we said, it's a bit of fun and tongue-in-cheek.
Yes.
Very tongue-in-cheek.
It is. Yeah, but some things can happen. I mean, I've said the 27-inch... I've got inch there.
Yes, I look forward to seeing you on the board.
Yeah, that's not happening, Mike. That's so not happening. But stuff in here, 27-inch iMac might come back. And I'm sure Timmy's going to say, let me show you, a million times. And I can't imagine how many times he'll say, we think it's great. I'm waiting for Timmy announcing his retirement, but that's a whole different story. And I've also put in the 32-inch iMac Pro, because I would buy that. So if Timmy's listening, I would buy that in a heartbeat. So if you could just release something that I actually want to buy, instead of stupid glasses, that would be grand. So that's what we've got in there. And as Mike says, it's a bit of fun. It's a bit of fun. Nothing's shipped today since Steve Jobs died, to be honest. but you know, I live in hope that one day it might. So that's me finished with that spreadsheet. I then close that spreadsheet down. Now, my next step involves getting the Affinity stuff ready, but I can't do that until Mike has worked his magic with the data. So, are you ready for me to switch to you, Mike?
Yeah, have you closed that file down?
Yes, you saw me do that, Mike.
No, I'm 30 seconds behind.
I could not get out of Excel fast enough. Trust me, I've closed the file down.
Right.
Right, so we're over to you. They're watching you.
Okay. I am opening up that same file, but I also need to open up another file. Now, in the real world, I would open up this one here, the generator and merge data, but for the demo, I'm going to open up this one here, which is a copy, and I will explain why in a minute. I will enable the macros. Then I will go back to the sheet that Elaine just created the 70 items in. I will select, well, before I select those 70 items, I actually need to delete from this input sheet the previous 70 items. So these are the ones that we used last time, so they need to go. And then go back to the sheet that we just created the 70 items in, select the 70 items, copy and paste into here, and then I can close this file down. There we go. What I would then do is I would then run a macro. Now I'll just show you the macro. So if I go over to the developer Visual Basic, there is the macros. Quite a lot of VBA code, but what the macro is going to do is it's going to take these 70 items, split them up so that we can then create a the deck of cards. But these numbers here in column B are used to try and generate unique items. So yeah, each card is going to have, I think it's 24 items, isn't it? But we want to make sure that each card has 24 unique items. So we don't want, for example, a 17-inch iPad on there on the same card more than once. There's no absolute guarantee. So, you know, if you do end up with one that's got duplicates, don't come crying to me, because
No, we've never had a duplicate.
Don't say that.
Oh, sorry, I shouldn't have said that.
There's a 0.0000001% chance that you would get duplicates.
Do you know how I can help you with that?
Go on.
If you get a duplicate, bin it and download another one. That's why there's 100 of them.
Good idea.
There you go.
Good thinking. Okay, so where are we up to? Yeah, the other thing I need to do is, and I don't think I need to do it here because of the way it was set up in Excel. I think it's problematic when it was coming over from Google Drive, is set the 941 to be text. You'll notice that there's a little apostrophe there, which forces it to be text, and in the past I've had to type that in, otherwise it would show it as 941 on the right, and that would mess the alignment up when it comes to the merge. So I tidy that up a little bit, and then I run the macro. And to run the macro, and I'm actually not going to go through with the macro because it takes too long to run, what I do is I go to this instruction sheet, click generate cards, and it pops up a box that says how many cards are required, and I type in the number that we want, which was 101, and click OK, and it does its magic. What I'm going to do now is close this one down and go to the completed version. So this is after it's actually run the macro. Because all that happens when you run the macro literally is it does its magic, and you're looking at a blank screen and nothing's happening for about 2 minutes. So we then have the final output sheet. So this is the final output sheet, and this is the result of the macro. And then what I have to do is go across to column Y, type in 001, and then drag down, which will generate sequential numbers, and then change 101 to Johnny's 613. And then finally what I do is I duplicate the final output sheet, just right click, move or copy, make a copy of it, stick it at the end and rename it, and that way we have got then a permanent copy of what we generated. And that's it. Once we've done that, then I close this down, and that is my bit done. So I then hand back to you.
Right, we can hand back to me, but let's see, I'm going to come back to here. Right, what I've done in my steps at the top is I've actually checked them off. So if you've done all that you've done there, can you check them off, and we'll see if Notion's working in real time.
Yeah.
Because all of step 2 was Mike. We're handing over to me for step 3 now, so you can see that he's checking everything off. Almost. There we go. So at that point, I will close this up, and I would open my bit here, and you can see I've got all of this to do. So I'm following along with that off screen. So the first thing I need to do is my zip file here that contains the template. Now this is the point. I know we've looked at Excel so far, but if you're doing something like this in Affinity Publisher, this is the process. This is the whole process. And the way that we've built this process is there's no manual hooking it up with the data. The whole thing will happen automatically. So it's in here. So in my file there, I've got the 3 folders, and I've got the files that I need inside there. So all I need to do with this is double click it, and it will unzip it and create that at the bottom of the list. And then all I need to do is to go in and take the ZZ away and change this. So it's Monday, and it's WWDC 2023. All right. And then inside here, I have one file. That's all I need, which is this file here. I don't bother with this I just put the date on. I'm not bothered about anything else with it. I'm just putting the date in here. I'm exchanging that for the date. So put that date in again, and I'm good to go. So this file it's been updated for version 2 of Publisher, but all that involved was opening it and saving it. People have said, why don't you make it a template? But the thing is, I want it, if I did it as a template in Publisher, it wouldn't be in the right place. I would have to then go and save it, and no, that would actually take longer. So I've got the file. I'm going to open that, which will open Publisher version 2. Now, for its data, it needs to get its data from this file here, which is the one that Mike ran the magic with. So this was the demo one where he went halfway. This one that had already happened with. So actually that demo file, we would remove that from here now. We just have these 2 spreadsheets. So this one has the 70 items. This one has the whole lot with the duplicates removed. So I don't want at this stage to be hooking this up and doing it from scratch, because if we look at what we've got in here, it would take me quite a while to put these items in here. There's 24 of them, for crying out loud. So I did it once, and that is already hooked up to the data, but we'll see that in a moment. So I have one page and I have a master page. So my first job is to go into the master page and change the title of this to whatever the event is called, which in this case, I think we all know by now, is WWDC 2023. And it is the 5th of June. So that's those 2 bits. Now this frame here, when you open the file, you can't see too well, but there is lines in that to indicate it's a placeholder. And if I were to click on it in here, you can see it's got the blue crosses on it, indicating that it's on the master page. So I need to go to the master page. This is editable as my frame. You can just about see the lines in it. And I need to drag and drop in there the poster for the event. So I do happen to have the poster for the event. Literally just drag and drop it. And that's that done. So there were 3 things that needed changing on there. The title of the event, the date of the event, and the poster. And then I can go back to this first page. Now, I already have in here my items. So that should tell you that this is already hooked up to a spreadsheet, which it is. So let me show you. So this was just a file. At some point, it had been linked up to that spreadsheet, the one that Mike has used as the generator, which means that it is still hooked up to that file when I open in here. It's always worth updating it, make sure, because if you noticed when I updated it, it picked the first sheet. That's why we have WWDC 2022. Mike hasn't named that with 2023 on it yet, but we can see which ones these are, but we only ever need to link it up to the final output, and that's the first sheet. So all I did with that was hit update, and that was it, and was done. I did not have to go and find the file, bring it in here, look at the field list, and start dragging and dropping stuff in here. It's already done. So I can, with that, just hit generate. And it will toddle off. Let's get that out of the way. And it will make a completely new file. This one with 101 pages in it. And you can see this one here is 613. And this one is going to be 100. So they are all in there. Now, this file is the second file, the second Affinity Publisher file. So I will save it. It's not already saved because the other one is the pre-merge file. This one is the merge file. So it needs to be in the right place, which I'll navigate to. It is an area of MacBites, in the resources, bingo cards. We're not putting you in there. We want this one. And it goes in the layout files. So this is the one that is the pre-merge. So what I do is I actually click on there and then change that to merged. So that is all the pages, and save that. Now, wouldn't even actually need to save that, but I do anyway. The next step, you can't do much with this as it is. It needs to come out as a PDF. So from File, I can go to Export. Now, Pre-Flight is going to be complaining about the edge, how close these things are to the edge and stuff. Because it's digital, I know that I can ignore and continue. It will work. It will. Right, the quality is high, etc. It doesn't make that big a file anyway, so I might as well keep it the same. I've noticed that the new version of Publisher does take quite a while to generate a preview, and this does have 101 pages in it, but not too bad. And I can just hit export on that. Now I do have preset locations where these things should be. So from my layout files, I'll go up one level. This is where the PDF version goes. And it doesn't matter at this stage what I call this, but I'm going to leave it with the same name so I know it is a PDF that came from the merged file. And this is just something that, I mean, we've been doing this for, well, as I said, I did it with Pages in 2009. It literally, the process, the apps have changed. I would say it's a little bit faster now, but the process, it has been the same process. It just needs updating with, Dropbox isn't working anymore, and now the file's an Excel file. It's little things that need updating. So the process is that PDF then goes in that folder. So it's generated the PDF, it sticks it in that folder. At that point, I am done with Affinity Publisher. So that was the Affinity Publisher bit done. And you'll notice that unlike every other demonstration I have ever done of data merge, I did not get the fields panel out and start putting fields in. It's already there, even though it's only a file, it's not a template. It remembers what it was attached to. Brilliantly, if for whatever the reason you find that, Mike's renamed the file or something catastrophic like that, which we did today, didn't we? We renamed it. We named it 1 and 2 because they were the wrong way round. Even if the file becomes detached from your pre-merge file at this end, it still retains these fields, which is fantastic. Because if it didn't, it's really fast to go and get another file. But if it lost the connection with these fields, you'd have to redo that every single time. But it knows not to do that. So that's Affinity Publisher done with. All done. Do you want to save it? I'll say yes. And off that goes. So in my Finder, let's bring Finder back on. we now have, we can fold this up, we now have this folder, which has the 3 folders in it. So we've finished with the layout files. We've now got this file. Now I would love to be able to do this the way that I did it before, which was I right-clicked on it, and in the services menu, I had an option to split the file. It was there until I updated to Ventura, and now it's vanished. The option is still there. I can show you in the file library that the split command is there, it's just not showing. So if you are not on Ventura and you did what we did last time, you may be able to split it that way. But life's too short, so I'm going to open it up. I did try and fix it, didn't I? I went in to find it.
True.
And yeah, I found it, but it's just not working. So what I'm going to do is open up Adobe Acrobat, because I know that that will work. So in Adobe Acrobat, the interface of which looks like Fisher-Price designed it, I'm not a fan, but there is an option to organise the pages. Now you may be able to do this in PDF Expert. If you can, I never worked it out. I did the export, and that was grand, apart from the fact that when I told it to export the pages individually, exported them all together. But in here, if I go into organise the pages, I can see all of the pages, 101 of them. I can do Command and A, and I have an extract command. So ticking that, it would give you the option, if you wanted to extract 10 pages from here and, you know, ditch the other 90 or whatever, you could do that and it would create one file. But if you want to extract pages individually, you just need to put a tick in the extract pages as separate files. I do not want to delete the pages after I extract them. And that's because this file would then be left with no files, no pages in it at all. And this one is the master one that's got all 101 in it. So I just don't enable that. Then I can hit extract. And it will have a think about it. And it will prompt me for where. And it would be really nice if default folder hasn't vanished, but it has. So now I have to go back and navigate again. Oh, we'll be right yet. Okay, MacBites, resources, bingo cards. WWDC 2023, separate cards. Right, so choose that folder and it will generate 101 PDF files. So as I say, there's many different ways to do that. I've just used Acrobat for the quickest because it is now my default PDF reader. So at that point, I can close Acrobat. And that will leave me in here. We can close that up now and we can go into here. And we're getting there. We have 101 files in here. But the problem that we've got is, what do we call these files? Now, we could go back up and have a look what we called them last time, couldn't we? So if we go in the WWDC 2022, why have we got a Hound of the Baskervilles file in there? Makes you wonder, doesn't it? Never mind, leave it alone. Right, you can see what I've called them in here. Right, there's a reason for that. We used to call these files by the event, so it would be MacBites WWDC 2022 _ and a number. Put in the chat why it's best if we don't do that, if you know. But in essence, what I need is the names that we've got in here, right down to 613. I need them to be named that, and preferably quickly. So, in my separate cards in here, I use an app called A Better Finder Rename. The reason I'm using this one is it allows me to have presets. So in here, a lot of the time, I am renaming the After Hours slides. So it looks like that. But obviously that's not what I want in here. Now, what I would have to do if I didn't have a preset is go and look at an old one and work it out and then build up the settings that I need. But Better Find a Rename has settings in here. And I have plenty of these, as you can see, renaming inner screenshots and all kinds of stuff. And one of them is the bingo cards. Another is the After Hours slides. So this one's the After Hours slides. All I need to do to change this is to double click on my preset and it loads in exactly what I need. All I then need to do is go and get these and drag them into a Better Find a Rename. Who can tell me when where this is going to go wrong? Let me know if anybody twigs. Right, so what this tells you, what I've actually set this up to do, is I've chosen a category of sequence numbers and I've said rename these files into a list that's a sequence. This is what I want at the beginning, and if you wanted anything at the end you could put that in, but I don't. I want you to start the numbering with 1 and I want you to increase it by 1 for every file. But I also want 3 digits minimum, because obviously I'm going up to 100 and then 613. So 3 digits at a minimum. Sort it first by name and sequence number and then by name and blah, blah, blah. Now, as we go over here, the current name is displayed in here, and then it will show you what it will change it to. So it's changing it to something that has no spaces in it, because otherwise, when you upload them, you will get ampersand 20s, which represents a space. So, and they're all lowercase as well, because sometimes if you put it in uppercase, it doesn't download if it's a lowercase file. So everything is lowercase. Right. Has anybody spotted where this is all going to go wrong yet?
Patience says, would it mess up Jonathan's card?
It will. It will mess up Jonathan's card. But if we look at Jonathan's card at the moment, anyway, it's just numbered 101. So don't get confused between the file name and the contents of the file. That is Jonathan's card, and it will say 613. It just won't be numbered 613 in the file name. But we can fix that. So I'll do the renames, and it will go through and do it. Takes a few seconds, but then it's done. So that is a Better Find a Rename. That's its job. So what we've now got over here is the cards with the correct names, apart from Jonathan's, who is now down at the bottom. We know it's Jonathan's card. We'll preview it. It's Jonathan's card, 613, but it's the one thing that I have to go in and remember to do. That is actually 613. There we go. Now, those are the files that I need to upload, and they will be uploaded to Amazon S3, where they live. I will show you that in Transmit, which is an FTP client. To save the audio going mental with itself or any other problems, I've actually already uploaded them. So that was a bit of a Blue Peter moment for me as well, wasn't it? But in here, in MacBites.co.uk, we have bingo cards. If I open up that folder, we have the previous bingo cards by date. We actually have these, so just imagine I dragged and dropped them. Just imagine that that's happening, and there they are. Did I remember 613? I did. I'm proud of myself.
Simon wants to know if anyone's ever taken Johnny's card and ransomed it.
Oh, there's always one, and it's usually Simon. Right. So what I've done is I've put them in the folder with the date. But if we were to link to the files in there from the website, every link would need updating every time we do this. So to make it as fast as possible so we don't have to do that, we also have a folder called Next Event. And I upload the files again to that folder, and they sit there until the next event when they're deleted, and I put in the next lot. So in here, all of these are exactly the same as I put in the first one. Now, what I do need to do with this is to make sure that I select the whole lot, and that in the read over here, let's do it on one because I have done this. If it complains, I'll sort it. But in the read option, I have to make sure that everybody can read them. So I do a Command and A, and I click read, and I do apply. And it goes through and it marks the permission on every single one of these files to make sure that everybody can read them in the next event folder. Right, so we've done that bit. All right, at that stage, I should probably bring this back. Right, did I unzip that? Yes, I did. It went in there. Then I need to name the folder, done that. Rename that, done it, done it. Edit that file, run the merge, save the merge, export to PDF. Now I've got use the service or Acrobat, done that. Done better find a rename to rename them. Rename 101 to 613 for Johnny. Delete everything that was in the next event from last time, done that. Upload these to the first folder, upload them to the second folder and use transmit to make the PDFs available to the public. So we've done all of that, at which point we can fold that up. That leaves one step, which is this one here. So I need to click that link, which I've already done. So that's this page here. And I need to change the poster, change the intro line and click a few links to make sure they're working, because when I go into this edit page in here, this is where I need to change the caption. So that needs changing. Join us on, and it's the 5th of June for the WWDC 2023 keynote. That's my line changed. The only other thing I need to change is this image, because that's the old one from last time. So I'll hit replace. I will select an image from my media library. That one should do. And OK that. Right. Now, if those files all had unique names, I would then have to go through 101 links and make sure that they're OK. I'm working on the principle that they're OK. So, because what they're linking to is a generically named file, so we never have to rename them. We learnt from bitter experience, didn't we? Mm. Do you remember the year I did 28,000 bingo cards?
Yeah.
Never did that again. We nearly broke craft. Right, so what I'm going to do here is update that. And then we will go and see it, which is this one here. So that's what it was looking like 7th of September last year with that image. If we do this, it should automatically update. Now, question's going to be, does the bingo cards work? So we'll download number 8. And if it's anything other than WWDC 2023, it's all gone wrong. But no, it hasn't. It's right. So I reckon we need to go back, and I reckon we all need to see Johnny's card, don't we? You could always choose another one, I suppose, but let's have a look what's on Johnny's card. Oh, body temperature tracking and dithering knits and iOS 17. Did he get the 17-inch iPad? Oh, no, he didn't. But he did get the 15-inch MacBook Air. And we think it's great. Cut prices services bundle. I can't see Jonathan winning this with that one. But you never know. You never know. The missing 5 colours are there as well. And an iPhone subscription. But super excited he'll be there. Not seen a tear-jerking video for a while, but you never know. And I think Simon needs to point out Craig to Mrs. Simon. So that is everything that we do. And it's happened over many, many years. The software's got better. I didn't want to be using InDesign, so we used Word instead, until Affinity Publisher. Now, the beauty with that is, as you've seen, I can have a file in a zip that I unzip, and it's automatically attached to the data that Mike has generated, which is just so clever. Each aspect of this has been honed so we don't have issues where things take a long time. So one of the issues we had was like the last step where it was like, well, we'll name the cards, and all the cards were in the same folder for every event. And it was like, well, hang on. If we create this generic folder and we always upload files to that and they always have the same name, we don't have to update the page. So you've seen how easy that is at this stage. Hasn't always been that easy though, has it, mate? But it is that easy now, thankfully. So have we got any questions on any aspect of that? Any questions regarding why we did something a certain way?
First of all, Simon says, I'm not sure Mrs. Simon could withstand Mr. Buffon being unleashed on her.
Yeah, that is true, actually, isn't it?
But we do have a question.
Right.
Peter says, can't you do the renaming in Acrobat?
You probably could, but I would have to type in what I wanted. Whereas with a Better Find a Rename, because it's in a preset and because they don't need changing, it's just a lot easier. So if I show you Better Find a Rename, sometimes I have to add bits in when I use this. So when I finish the show, one of the things that I do is I export the slides as images. So they're PNGs at this stage. And you'll see in here that while this is absolutely correct, I have to go in here and I actually have to type in there what I want. So sometimes it's easy like that, but I do have to type in the number and stuff because I'm naming the files uniquely. But because with the other ones, the bingo cards, I just want them called that and a number, I don't need to change anything. I just need to apply it, drag the files in, click the button and I'm done. So otherwise I'd have to have this somewhere I could copy it and I'd have to explain to it what I wanted it to do. But there's many, many ways of doing the splitting of the PDF and the renaming. So if you've got a different app, another one is Name Mangler, which is great. It really is great. That one used to work with droplets. I use them both. It just depends on what I'm trying to do. One is better with grep than the other. But mainly I use this one because of the presets. But there's many ways to do it. None are right, none are wrong. Just depends on what you want. I find that the fastest for me. I would have loved to have right-clicked and used the split PDF, but Ventura's not having it. And I don't know why. It makes no sense that it's not working. Because if I show you the Finder, so let's bring Finder on. If I go to my library, so I'm holding the Option key down, there's the library. If you go into your library and you go down here, you've got services, and there is my split PDF service. The other place I then needed to go was in my system settings when I actually found it, because Ventura can't find a thing. And it was under extensions, I think. And the extensions were split into two. So if I go there and look for extensions, which I've just spelt wrong. Right. I've got extensions here, which is all of them, when it finally gets there. Come on, where you go. Right, and I do have Finder extensions in here, and I have Finder extensions down here. So I think it was in there. No, which one was it? Was it this one? Added extensions. It's grindingly slow in these extensions. No, it wasn't that one. It wasn't that one. Let's try that one. So in here, I've got these, and if I scroll down, there's my split PDF, and there's a check in it, and it's not working. So I might more investigation needed because it is installed. It's there, and it should be working, and it's not working. So what I did the last time when I demonstrated that, I think I zipped that up and put it somewhere for download. You should just have to put that in the right place, which is services in your library, and it will appear in here as an option. You should just need to put a tick in it and it would appear on the right click, but it's not. So I've no idea why it's not working. If anybody has any suggestions, let me know. It's just one of those things like you've upgraded. Now nothing's working. We hate you. There, Apple, thank you for that. Okay, we got anything else on that?
No, Peter's just said he uses PDF Genie.
Yeah, there's hundreds of them, just depends on what you use. I did open it in PDF Optim and have a look, but I've got that set to optimize PDF and I didn't see an option for it to separate it. But there's lots and lots of options for PDFs. I mean, some tools in the App Store, that's all they do. They just split PDFs into multiple files. So you basically just drop your PDF file onto the app interface and click a button. Sometimes you don't even need to do that because that's all that app does. It just separates the file. As I said, I changed from PDF Expert to Adobe Acrobat because PDF Expert was you needed a subscription on both devices. I haven't got the time for all of that. And also, the price was getting too ridiculous. I think it was about £150, and that was a year. I know it used to be $50 on the iPad. I think I took no, it wasn't a trial, was it? When we went to Gawsworth and you were dressed as Agneta. Yeah. Yeah, it was a memorable day, I can assure you. You went off looking for something, and I started working, and I was doing some scanning. And OCRing and uploading and stuff, and I was using PDF Expert because I think it was about £8 for a year, but at the end of the year it was like 50 odd, and I thought, and that's only for the iOS app. When they released the new version for the desktop, then it was like premium pricing of like over £100, and I thought, I've got Acrobat, why don't I just use that? Like I say, I'm not a fan of the interface, but it does the job. If you can work out where the feature is, which is always great fun, and make a note of it for next time, then it does a great job. But I appreciate not everybody has Acrobat. Not everybody wants Acrobat. But Acrobat does do absolutely everything. So people say like, oh, I've got PDF Expert, how can I make a form? You can't. It's as simple as that. But Acrobat can. You know, if I've got Acrobat, I might as well use it. So that's why I'm using it. Do we have anything else on that?
No.
I don't know if anybody else is doing a job quite as complex as that, but once you've broken it down into the steps that you need, so let's go back to in here, because I've done that lot now. So I've opened that, I've changed the poster, I've changed the intro line, and I've clicked some of the bingo cards to make sure they work. Everything is done. We are ready for Monday. So that's the kind of job that gets done here when you're not watching. But we thought it'd be a good idea that you saw a soup to nuts on something like that, because there's so many moving parts to it. We've built it up over time, you know, but we still, today, we went through that 3 times, making sure that everything was accurate, because every time you come to it, it's not that we've changed what we do, something else will have changed. So, for instance, in the zip file, the Affinity Publisher file that I had was built in version 1. So when I opened it, it automatically opened in version 2. And I'm then sat there looking at it with the message that says, you know, do you make changes and all of that. So I thought, well, I'll go in and I'll save it and I'll recreate the zip file. So you're always iteratively improving workflows like this. And it is one of the more complex ones. It's got lots of apps in it. It's got me doing something that then needs to go to Mike, that then needs to come back. But if you break it down, as we've done, into like the 4 sections there, and you treat each part as independent. So if you think about it, what the individual PDF files are called in the last step has no bearing on what's going on in steps 1, 2, and 3. So it is better to separate them out, and then you're only focusing on a tiny bit. So at the point that I'm like, I need to rename these files, I'm not thinking about that at an inappropriate stage where it wouldn't help me anyway. Everything is within the block that's important. Now, obviously, this time we had to change the Google Sheet, and I loathe Excel, don't I? So I had to change the view of it. It was just too tiny, too fiddly. What I do in Google Sheets is, in Google Sheets, you can actually delete cells that you're not using. So if I'm using 5 columns, that's all I need. And in this case, I was using 1 column. So all I had in Google Sheets was 1 column and 70 rows. The rest was deleted. But in Excel, you can't do that. So I feel I've got stuff there. You know, you're in my face and you're bothering me. And I don't need to see that. I mean, obviously, Mike copes with it way better than I do. But then you wouldn't be happy doing the other end of it, would you? No. The publisher end of it. So break it up into individual chunks and then inject whatever apps you want. If I decide, or if all of a sudden a Better Find a Rename stopped working, then I'll use Name Mangler or something else. Everything is in sections. I guess what it needs, because it's written, and Mike's in particular has got quite a lot of steps in it, because you had some of these in the spreadsheet, didn't you? And then worked out you can't read them in the spreadsheet. So they should be in this process here. It looks busy, but because you're only focusing on what you can do at that stage, not too bad. I think it would be better if there was a diagram as well. So I'll probably work on a diagram of that. Only because when a change happens, no, let me explain that properly. When a change is forced upon you, because you've got a cloud service that's acting up, when you've got a change like that, you've got to read through it and see what would impact what. I don't actually hear, we're not uploading, we're generating, aren't they? Let me have a look at this point. You'll see, I've use the Better Find a Rename preset, but this isn't in like a different colour to indicate it's an app. I think if there was a diagram, you would instantly know what the app was. So if an app died and you needed to change it, I think a diagram would be clearer as to what you actually needed to do with that. I need to change that here and I need to change it there. But that works in terms of, I would still keep this because you need to check it off as you're doing it. But that is the whole process. Never shown you the whole process from soup to nuts. We've done data merge, but not in the way where you have a file that's already connected, which means, I mean, if I had to do that every time, I think I'd lose the will to live. I think I used to have to do that. It's all coming back to me now, and I don't want to think about it. So it's a lot easier than it used to be. Right, if we have no questions on that... No questions on that?
No.
Right, and then we'll go back into there. So what do we have coming up? Well, handily, WWDC, and now you've seen all behind the scenes. We've already had Logic Cut Pro, Final Cut Pro for the iPad, Logic Pro for the iPad, and an announcement of AI voices. So we can only hope that there's less of the stuff we might actually want to buy for WWDC. However, I fear it's the mythical AR glasses. And possibly, although I doubt this, the lesser spotted Apple car. But we will be there on Monday at 5 o'clock UK time, which I have written into the email is... Don't help me. It's... no, you might need to help me. No, it's noon. It's noon Eastern, isn't it? And 9 a.m. That's alarming. On the West Coast. And for Renee, it'll be 6 o'clock. He's an hour ahead. So do join us. It's at MacBites FM. If only... for a giggle at Timmy. I said to Mike, I don't think they're glasses at all. I think it's a blindfold, and he used it when he designed the latest iMacs. But that could just be my opinion. But, you know, if we want to see him in glasses, I think we should do it. I think we definitely should do it. So do join us. Then, of course, we have 198 next week, and everything that we do is available on demand. So you will find that at youtube.com/Elaine Giles. We have a MacBites After Hours playlist where all of the shows, going right back to the first one where we unboxed virtually everything, didn't we? You had a Surface and I had a MacBook Air and I had a new iPad. Oh, it was a great night. Cost us an absolute fortune, but it was a great night. So go back and watch version 1. Right, you will find that playlist at macbites.co.uk/After Hours playlist. And of course, we love you guys. If you have enjoyed the show, give us a like. It really makes a difference with YouTube. And you could subscribe. And that way you'll get notified with the little bell every time we go live, so you don't miss anything. We also have a couple of mailing lists. There is my mail list at elainegiles.com/VIP. I think I'll write a mail for that at the moment. You know, with all the writing that I'm doing in my content sprint. And there is the MacBites mailing list. This is the one you need to be on if you want to get the notifications, or follow me on Twitter, or follow MacBites on Twitter. This is macbites.co.uk/MacBites-mail. So these will be the reminders that you will get of what's coming up on Monday, etc. And then there's Slack, where we carry on the conversation. If you would like to join us, it's totally free. It's like Twitter, but without the toxicity. And you can join us if you're not already a member. Go to macbites.co.uk/join Slack, where you'll be able to create your free account. If you are a member, you can get in going to macbites.co.uk/Slack. At least we've got the bingo cards done now, haven't we?
True.
Yeah, you see, normally that's a rush job. It's not going to be a rush job this week. It's all done. Let me know if you've downloaded one. Let me know. Right, I'm going to do that, and then I can see the chat. Can't see the chat when it's behind my slides. But my slides are going bye-bye, and there we go. I can switch over now, and I can see it. Awesome. Right. What we got in here? You like Apple glasses? These are going to be an arm and a leg, Renee. Honestly. Yeah, there's also that point, isn't there? I wonder how they've dealt with the fact that people wear their own glasses, and then you'd be putting these on the top of them. It's just something that doesn't appeal to me at all. AI, I can understand people's fascination with it, but virtual reality, unless it's used for something like, what was that one that Microsoft have? And they use
HoloLens.
The HoloLens. And I know that that's in medical schools and veterinary colleges where they're using it, I guess dentists as well, although would it work for a dentist, Kim? Wouldn't it get in the way? It might, I guess. They're using it for training, and that's amazing. But sitting in your living room with the headphones on, watching a concert, no, it's not for me. It's not for me, but there you go. Right, Dee says, have you ever considered doing a Q&A about my own tech experiences, how you got into tech, what inspires you, general questions, could be fun. Yeah, we could do that. We could do that on MacBites FM. That would work. Good idea. Make a note of that, Mike. You're very welcome, Patience, saying thank you for the great show. And Carol enjoyed it too. Have you finished, Carol? Have you got 21 days of content? Because I'm not there yet. But maybe I spent too long on my Notion. We're not going to talk about that. No, we're not. Dee needs to see if you're on Slack. I thought you were. I thought you had about half a dozen accounts. Find one that works and join us again. Is everybody coming on Monday? Renee wants to know if everybody's joining us. Well, I certainly hope you are. And Kim can't wait for the WWDC fun. There's going to be bad words said. Honestly, it feels like the Obsidian thing. I knew when I saw that, I thought it's got to be a new icon. And people were saying it was going to be, like, you'd get a unicorn to come in and do the notes for you. And I'm thinking, it's not that. It's just a new icon. And these people were like, I'm going to be so disappointed. And I can't help feeling that they've ramped the hype up for this WWDC to the point it's lunacy. I saw a headline the other day and I just shook my head and then said bad words. It said, this is going to be the most momentous Apple event since the announcement of the iPhone. I thought, no chance. Not unless you're going to thrill me, Timothy. And I can't see that. Half of me thinks like, well, it's about time they had a really great machine, a Mac Pro. That they're already a year behind. So maybe they will have that. And then I think, but if the machine that we're thinking of announcing, whatever it is that good that I'd want to buy it, it would surely take the shine off the glasses. And they're already saying that they've got dedicated, I don't know if it's in marquees or something, but they've got dedicated show areas to show these glasses off. So I'm thinking it's the glasses. So I'm trying to be like I was on Tuesday and Wednesday before Obsidian said it's an icon. And then I saw it and I was horrified. I'm trying to rein in my expectations so I'm not as disappointed as I have been in every other event since time immemorial. Oh, are they buying Microsoft? Who's this buying Microsoft? Dee loves how I'm obsessed with Apple and I never let them get away with anything. Well, the thing is, that I mentioned at the very beginning there was a video that I watched this week, and long story short with it was they stopped selling the Lisa. The Lisa was Steve Jobs' baby, literally. He named it after his daughter. And I had no idea. It sold for $10,000. Anyway, they brought out Macintosh after that, so they didn't need the Lisa, and they had a bulk load of Lisas left over. What was different about this video was that there was an interview and you actually saw the original contracts and documentation from this reseller. And he had agreed to buy these Lisas and he was doing great with them. He bought them, and this was years after they were new. He upgraded the software and he was selling them, and he was doing really nicely with it. Apple decided, and I think at this stage there are about 7,000 of them left, that they didn't like the fact he was doing so well with them, so they would exercise a clause in this contract and stop him selling them, which was exactly what they did. So they went to his house and they picked up these computers in a truck and they took them to a dump in Ohio. He followed them to see what they were doing with them, and somebody at the dump told the local paper. So a reporter turned up with a photographer to be met by these security that were like 6'7" ex-Marines. But they couldn't actually stop them getting in legally. So she said, that's fine, but I'm going in anyway. So she went in with the photographer, and they've got photos of these computers being dragged off this truck and not just buried in landfill, but they were actually driven over first by one of those caterpillar things to make sure that they were unusable. So the story got a lot deeper than that in terms of what Apple were up to with this guy. But I'm watching it, and you could actually see the video that they'd got of these computers being destroyed. And I'm sitting there and I'm thinking to myself, wrapping yourself in the eco-friendly flag much, Timothy? Because that's horrific. These computers were more than usable. Why not give them to schools or something? That's shocking. And I know now they're like sustainability. Yeah, we've not always been that way, have you, eh? Eh? So we do like to keep an eye on you, Apple, because you can't be trusted. You've got form. In the UK this week, there's also somebody with form that's been talked about a lot, isn't there? But we're not going to talk about that. But that's it. You know, if you lie once or you do something devious like that once, I'm keeping an eye on you. I am keeping an eye on you. Oh, a merger with Tesla for the Apple car. Well, in there, I do have Elon Musk joining the board. So who knows? Who knows? Patient says they produce so many new items before the new is worn off the old ones. Your Mac you bought in 2021 is still as zippy as day one. I wish mine was. Mine arrived in December 2020. And a machine only lasts me 2.5 to 3 years. If once I get to the 2.5 years mark, it starts misbehaving. There's various things that happen. I wouldn't say to the point. I mean, I have had computers that, I went for dinner once, didn't I? And came back and it was dead. And it had to go back to Apple. It was totally dead. I've no idea what happened to it. At least we know with that one of yours. This happened to the first Mac we ever bought. We were downstairs watching 24, weren't we? And we were watching in the front room. Maya was a baby. So we're watching 24 in the front room. My computer was turned on upstairs, which was a 24-inch iMac. And Mike's 20-inch was turned on. And all of a sudden, as we're watching 24, there was this bang. And of course, we're looking at it. It was like, was that on the telly? I said, that didn't sound like it was on the TV. But, it is 24. So, yeah, they shoot each other and there's bombs going off. I don't know. And so I'm there. I have a very sensitive smelling. Oh, I can smell anything from anywhere. So I said, I don't like that. It smells like smoke. So Mike said, don't blink with 24 while I go up and have a look, to find that his computer was on fire. So that was a good iMac, wasn't it? That one got sent back as well. I actually physically took that one in. And it was funny. This was to the Trafford Centre before there were Team Trafford. So I pitched up with this computer. It was under Apple Care. And he said, I'll get it on the bench and turn it on. And I said, well, before you do, you might want me to explain what happened. So I explained. And he said, oh, maybe I shouldn't turn it on then. So he took it out of the box. I said, you see at the back where the air vent is? I said, yeah, that's where the smoke was coming from. But even then, they managed to fix it in 2 days at the Trafford Centre, which was the best repair we ever had, because the others ran into months.
True.
The second repair, no, that wasn't good. I was actually talking about this repair today with somebody who was saying that they'd had to call the AA out twice in 2 days. And I said I'd only had to call the RAC out. These are motoring... What would it be in the States? How would you describe it? The AA is the Automobile Association, and the RAC is it the Royal Automobile Club? Yeah. What they are, you pay them on a retainer, and if you break down, they come out and get you. So I don't know if you have that kind of thing in the States. But I would have thought twice in 2 days was a bit naughty. I've only called them twice, and both times it was a complete, not a calamity. The first time I was abandoned on a roundabout, something gave out. I don't know. I can't remember what bit of the car fell off, but something fell off. And the second time was even worse. I was taking my iMac in for repair and I couldn't get in the Trafford Centre. And so ensued a day of running around and trying to avoid armed gunmen. Oh, that was a great story. All the better for being true. That was fantastic. Right, let's have a look. A Giles Fire. Yes, we're renowned for them. I think actually that iMac repair, which was my 24-inch iMac, and it was it was a fault on the graphics card, and honestly, it was a disaster from the second it left the house. I packaged it up in its box and I got it in the car and stuff. I couldn't, for reasons to do with the armed gunman, I couldn't get into the Apple store. Then the car broke down. Then I had to get the RAC out to rescue me. And they're rattling through their questions as they do. And she said, right, okay, we'll be with you. Stop. So she went, what? I said, I need to tell you something else. This isn't going to be on your list of 20 frequently asked questions. Trust me on that. So she said, right. So she said, I've got that you're a woman on your own. I said, yes. I said, but the issue I've got is that I've got armed gunmen on the loose. Everybody's evacuating and I can't move. because the car won't move. So she was saying maybe you should get to somewhere safe. And I said, I can't do that because I've got an iMac in the back of the car and it weighs 6 stone. So short of putting it on wheels, what do you want me to do with it? Oh, what a day. Kim, you would have loved that one. Jammy says they repaired the same iMac or did they replace it? Not sure I feel like getting one back that blew up. They changed the entire inside of it. They changed the motherboard and everything on it. So I think the only thing that was the same was the case. But they had at the time the most fantastic repairers at the Trafford Centre. They were stunning. And the fact they had it done in 2 days was amazing. The other one I've sent back to for repair because they don't repair. They only repair phones and iPads in store now. So you have to send your iMac back and it doesn't go back to Apple. It goes back to a third-party repairer who've never managed to repair anything at any time I've sent it back. The first time I sent it back to them, it came backwards and forwards. It needed a new screen. So it came backwards and forwards 3 times. And every time they sent it back in the same box with virtually no padding on the inside. And the last time it came back, and it wasn't fixed anyway. Well, they changed the screen, but it had dead pixels on it. Dead pixels and sparklies all over it. Like trapped dust inside it. It wasn't right. I wasn't having it. The last time they sent it back, there was tool marks on the leg and the case. And I thought, we're done. So I argued with Apple. I said, the service has been disgusting. I took photos. You see, this was around the time, I think the only digital... I think what digital camera we had, but the only digital camera I had was like not a great one by comparison to today, but it was enough to show them that this machine was in a bad way. And I'd taken photographs of all of it, every inch of it before it went, because I didn't trust them that, if it came back with a scratch on it, they'd say it was there before they received it. And this machine had arrived, it sat on the desk. There was no damage on it when it went back. So I got all these photos that I sent to Apple and they were like, okay, we'll send you a new machine. So they did. A couple of years later, another machine broke. This one, the hard drive broke and the screen, half of the screen went black. So that had to go back for repair. This was the one, I can tell you exactly when this went back. It went back 2 days before the Apple Care ran out in 2014. November 2014. It came back, it wasn't right, it went back again. It came back, it wasn't right, it went back again. And again, it's damaged as it's coming backwards and forwards. And I've got my mother dying in the front room. And I've got people knocking on the door with, here's the iMac again. And she was like, oh, the computer will be fine now. And I'm like, I daren't tell her. And I got on first name terms with the woman at the repair company. So it came back, it wasn't right again. In fact, I think at this stage, I can't remember if that one went back. But anyway, it arrived, it wasn't right. And by this stage, Mum was really bad. I think it was like maybe 24 hours, 48 hours before she died. I didn't want to leave her, but I didn't want her to overhear the conversation I was about to have with this woman either. And I've got district nurses coming, I've got the doctors coming, you name it. It was like a revolving door, wasn't it, Mike? So, and when I was awake, Mike was asleep. And when he was asleep, I was awake. So it's a case of, you're going to have to wake up, Mike, so you can sit with her. If she's starting to look like she's going, get me off the phone. And I had to come in the office and I got on the phone to this woman and I let rip. She didn't really get a chance to say anything. So I said, right, it's me with the iMac. So she said, oh, yes. So I said, right, don't interrupt me. I said, I've got my mother dying in the front room. I said, so I'm going to tell you what's going to happen and you're going to deal with it. So I'd let rip with what was wrong with it and stuff. I said, so I think a new computer's in order, don't you? I'll leave you to sort it out over Christmas because I'll probably have to bury my mother. So if you can just leave it till then, happy Christmas, and hung up. And then I dashed downstairs. So yeah, I don't have a good history with repairing them. So I like it to not need repairing, lest I have to deal with people on the phone, because I've got no patience, have I? No. I don't like talking to people on the phone. Got no patience. That was bad words, Renee, I can assure you. And she was mortified at the other end. But honestly, if you can imagine that your mum is like aware of what's going on. She knows she's dying. We know she's dying. But she's aware of what's going on. When somebody comes to the door, and I was on first name terms with the courier by then, he said, "You're buying a lot of these." I said, "This is a repair. It's the same one." And he said, "Well, I've been here 4 times this week." I said, "I know." It keeps going backwards and forwards. She knew there were people at the door, and she said, "Oh, is that your computer back? Is it fixed?" And I literally, put my hands behind my back and crossed my fingers and said, "Yes, it's absolutely fine, Mum." And I thought, God will forgive me for that lie, won't he? And she said to me, "Rename it." Because it was called Boomerang. It was called Boomerang after my granddad's dog. And she said, "And it has been a boomerang. It's gone backwards. So I want you to rename it." So I said, "Right, I'll rename it, Mum." And that's literally thinking on my feet. I said, "Right, I'm going to call it Faith." And she said, "Yes, you have faith. It'll be a great machine, that." And I don't know how I kept a straight face because Mike knew it was in the back room in bits again. Oh, God, that was amazing. Surface is having clicking noises. That doesn't say. Nothing that clicks sounds good. It doesn't. The end to the story, Dee, was that a brand new computer turned up in January with their sincere apologies. And the laugh of it was, I got on the phone to her and I said, "You're not going to believe this. The screen's got dead pixels." So the one that they sent that was brand new also had to go back to Apple. But they were replacing a machine that was 3 years old. And the thing was, by that time, there was no DVD slot on the machines. So they had to buy me an Apple DVD as well that was about £100 and put that in the box. So eventually, when the replacement for the one that had been repaired 5 times arrived, I got on the phone and I said, "You're not going to believe this either." And she said, "Not again." I said, "No, this one's fine." And she went, "Thank God." All told, it was over 2 months with this machine. So once we'd got one, Mum had long gone by then. I think we'd had the funeral by the time this was sorted out, and that took 3 weeks. By the time this machine arrived, we had a naming ceremony, and it's still there today, and it's called Faith. And it did work all right in the end. What a farce. Oh no. Surfaces are quite good, though. I remember the first Surface that ran, was it 5 monitors? It was amazing. Because they were pitching it as like an iPad killer. But it was way more than that. I'm quite fond of a Surface. Dee says that you're amazed I got so much out of them. After one repair, they won't do anything for me. Do you know, it depends on how you deal with Apple. It really does. I wasn't talking to Apple when I said I've got my mother dying in the front room, so don't interrupt me. But when you're talking to Apple, you need to be completely calm and rational. Inside, you're seething and you want to shake the living unmentionable out of them. But you don't. You just keep nice as pie. And what you're hoping for them to say, you don't want to demand anything. Don't demand anything. You're waiting for them to say, "How would you like us to proceed?" When you've got them to that stage, you've got them by the proverbial. Then you say, "I think it's time for a replacement." And they will come back and they will agree with that. The key phrase that they come with is, "How would you like us to proceed?" And once you've got that, because some people are swearing bad words at them at that point, you won't get them to say that. So I'm like, I'm incredibly disappointed with the service. I've not had this machine for weeks. I've tried to be patient. You just like, those are the kind of platitudes that you come out with. And eventually they know that they're in the wrong and they come out with the phrase, "How would you like us to proceed?" At which point you sit there and go, "Yes!" And say, "Well, I think it's time for a replacement machine for the damaged one." And then by the time they've said that, they've already agreed it. It's already been agreed. And that's what you get. So I've done that multiple times. There you go. Getting hold of Apple now is a nightmare in itself. The other thing with Apple is if you can get to a local store and you are based in this country, I don't know about Ireland. I don't know the consumer legislation in Ireland. But Apple try to avoid the consumer legislation in the UK. They just deny it exists. There'll be a line at the bottom of the legal thing that, like, subject to the law of the country, but they ignore it. But if you go in there and you happen to know what the Sale of Goods Act is all about, they haven't got a leg to stand on. They have not got a leg to stand on. And as soon as you quote that, but you do have to quote it, they back down. As soon as you say it. We had this device, it was an iTV, wasn't it? It was like, it's a little pen drive thing that gives you TV on your computer. And we'd only had it about 3-4 months, maybe 6 months, and it broke. Now, in this country, the point of sale is responsible for a replacement or a repair. Now, obviously, so is the manufacturer. And Apple, you went in with it because I was looking after Maya in the car, wasn't I? And we're on a mobile phone. So I sent Mike in and said, don't take any rubbish. Quote the Sale of Goods Act. They've got to deal with it. So Mike goes in and gets a flea in his ear from Apple and goes outside and gets on the phone to me and says they won't do anything with it. So I said, well, what have they said? It's like nothing to do with them. You've got to send it back to the manufacturer. Well, being honest, the manufacturer could be in Taiwan. I don't know where they are. You sold it to me. It's your responsibility. So I'm sitting there, having done contract law and the Sale of Goods Act, quoting Mike, telling him precisely what to say. I said, as soon as you say to them, I'm making a claim under the Sale of Goods Act, you need to repair this or replace it. That's it. So you tried twice already, but he went back in the third time and he said, right, look. He said exactly what I told him to say. And as soon as he got the word Sale of Goods Act out of his mouth, they replaced it. Walked out with a brand new one. But they don't do that. They don't do the right thing without you knowing the law. And, not everybody's a lawyer. Luckily, I am. But that's what they're like. They're disgusting. I think they know what the law is. They should just apply it, but they don't. They try and get away with it. But yeah, good old moral Apple. Yeah, no, not quite. And Ireland doesn't have Apple stores. Oh, no. They do get a lot of tax breaks in Ireland, don't they? Most of the call centres are in Ireland. Asking for a new machine, even if justified, makes you feel greedy. That's how they work. That's why they ask you what you think they should do. But, once you've had... if they've damaged it, they haven't got a leg to stand on. If you took them to court, you'd win because they wouldn't turn up. They wouldn't turn up because they wouldn't want... They would rather have a loss in the absence of being there than a loss if they were there. So you'd win anyway. And once they know that, so it is unfortunate that you've got to push it, but it's not greedy if it's been like, in my case, over 2 months and you've damaged the first one and the replacement's rubbish. But yeah, you do have to actually say it, but you're in the right. You just have to hang on to the fact that you're in the right. Yes, Renee, you're never greedy and you're in the right, and that's the thing. And they know it. They know it. But they're not going to just say, well, here's what we're going to do. They want you to say it to them, so when they agree, you feel good. It's just a negotiation tactic, but Apple really should know better than to try negotiating with me, shouldn't they? Never lost a case. But they did, bless them. But, it gives you hours of happy fun sharing the stories afterwards. So now Mum was actually so savvy with that. Kim will love this. You know my mother. When my 24-inch iMac broke, I'd had it about 2.5 years. And she said, if that's got to go back, what are you going to use? So I said, well, I use my laptop. So she said, you might as well just get another iMac while it's away. And I said, Mum, I can't just buy an iMac because it's going to be away for a couple of days. She said, well, you never know how long it's going to take. So I thought about it and I thought, yeah, okay then. Oh, was she right? Because in the end, it took over 2.5 months. She was right. She was right. Have I ever had to go to a small claims court with any company? No, I haven't. Threatening them's enough. You need to know that the like nuancy things that will push their buttons. Many companies, like you've just said there, the small claims court. We have a small claims court in the UK, and we have the county court, and we have the High Court. Now, the High Court is, all wigs and gowns, my lord. So you can, if you're making a claim, and it fits within the parameters of the small claims court, make a small claim. You can also choose to go to the county court. But if you're prepared to spend a little bit more money on the paperwork, you can issue out of the High Court. There are not many companies who have ever had paperwork from the High Court. It would scare them witless. It's got like wax seals all over it, the lot. It would scare them to death. So when I'm on the phone with them and they're like, well, you can try taking us to the small claims court if you like. And I'll say, I have said with them, I'm a lawyer. I don't start with the small claims court. I start in the High Court. And they're like, gulp. Okay, we'll deal with it. So sometimes just a threat is enough. So no, I've never had to have done that. I have appeared in court representing other people, but not needed to. Oh, a new word for Renee. Excellent. An inclination to spend money with Apple. Try that one. Patients couldn't get, with her first iPhone, couldn't get tech support from the carrier because Apple wanted to charge you for the tech support instead of letting the carrier provide it. This is Apple, isn't it? I don't know how they do. How they have a reputation for being an archangel. I really don't. I really don't know. Do I have a background in law? Yes, Dee. I'm a lawyer. That was my first job. So I read law at A-level. I then went to University of London and read law there. I did a postgrad in medical malpractice at Oxford. Then I went on to Chester, which is Cristleton, wasn't it? I had a different name for it, but we'll call it Cristleton, which is the College of Law, where you train to be a solicitor. And then I worked as a solicitor. Then I came to my senses and realised that I wanted to be a computer expert all along. Wanted to work with computers. Couldn't work with lawyers. Ugh, they're a nasty bunch. So I got a position where I was working as a lawyer. We put in a case management system and no one could use it. So I put together a training course for it and I trained all the staff in it and then decided that I enjoyed that much more than being a lawyer. So I left and retrained as a Microsoft certified systems engineer and then went... I never really did that as a job, did I? I trained it, but never... Well, I do my own networking, but I couldn't be doing it for other people. It would do my head in. So then I started training apps. What caused the transition? Working with lawyers. They're not a nice bunch, are they? It was very fractious. I know what I could say this week in the UK. It was a toxic working environment. Yeah, it was working with lawyers on a day-to-day basis. They were so backstabbing. For instance, our principal decided that we were going to have a league table for how many cases you won and how much money you got in for clients. And I'm like, a league table? This is morally bankrupt. But that was the plan. And it went downhill from there. So I decided I would leave and I'd had enough at that stage. Oh, Peter went to school in Cristleton. Was that the high school or the primary school? You'll probably know where the School of Law is. It's on the road out towards the M55. It's in beautiful grounds. But honestly, would I want to go back? You had no choice. You had to pay this place for your tuition. And you had nothing to live on, obviously. And then you had to pass your exams at the end. But honestly, I've never been to the doctors more than that year. Because I was living at home, so it was a 50-mile trip there and a 50-mile trip home every day. And the tuition wasn't the best. I actually got more done working at home. But you couldn't take days off unless you had a sick note. Even the doctor in the end said, are you actually all right? I said, yeah, just give me a sick note. And I had a really good relationship with the doctor, so it was like, yeah, fine. She didn't have to put what was wrong with me, so she said, yeah, fair enough. And I said, look, I just want to work from home. I can't be doing with this college malarkey. And she did. She was fine. Yes, I saw the high school, Peter. I did go through there probably like once or twice. The first time, because I didn't know where the College of Law was, and we approached it totally from the wrong way. And the second time, I was looking for a newsagent's. But it's a bit sparse, isn't it, in terms of civilization? But I did find one. I think I found it on the main road, so I went past the high school on the way back in again. But that was it. Other than that, it was off the motorway, into college and out again. I would say happy days, but... Right. I heard a priest say at the conference for lawyers that he'd never seen so many lawyers since confession. This lot had no, they wouldn't have been at confession, I can assure you. Oh, bad. That's it, yep. Canal Bridge behind the Trooper, yep. A lot of people went to the Trooper. I don't drink, so there's no point really, and I was driving, so that was another thing. But yeah, that canal bridge isn't half busy at let-out time. So you could be in a queue there for quite a while. But I got through it. I passed all the exams. That was all I needed. Would I want to go back? No. We'll have no alumni meetings or whatever. Because it would be full of lawyers. And no, that doesn't suit me. I wouldn't say I was... Do you think it's just people, Mike, or is it just lawyers? Or were they just worse?
I'm taking the fifth.
They weren't. I keep telling you, we don't have that here. You don't have that in my legal system.
Right, no comment.
No, I don't think I would want to go back. Let's put it like that. But I enjoy what I do now. There you go. When patients were doing undergrad, there was semesters. You travelled 120, 3 to 5 days a week. Yeah, that's the thing. There was... Well, actually, that was when I got a mobile phone. So this was 1992, the autumn of 1992. Mobile phones cost a fortune, and you couldn't afford to use them. You know, emergencies only. But what happened, obviously to get there were two options. I could take the back roads, what we call the A roads here, which were a bit rural. And that journey would take you about an hour and 20. If you went on the motorway, equivalent of your freeways, it probably took about 40 minutes. So obviously I'm on the motorway. But I didn't have a mobile phone. If you break down on the motorway, well, your life's in your hands, isn't it, really? As we said today with that couple. So it was a bit dicey if you broke down. But I'm thinking like, well, it's 30 miles on the motorway, it'd be fine. Because it's 10 miles to the motorway from here. So I was fine, backwards and forwards, until this particular day. So I'm driving down there. I was driving a Nissan Micra, thankfully. I didn't realise it was built like a tank. I'm just driving down the motorway, and in front of me, quite a distance in front of me, there's a lorry, a flatbed thing, and it had on it fence posts, concrete fence posts. And these fence posts were side to side, if you're with me. So they were like lengthways across the back of this flatbed thing, and it was quite a way in front of me. And I think it had some wooden fence posts on it as well. So I thought I'll give that a wide berth. So I must have been easy half a mile behind it. And I had no desire to be in the fast lane and be going at over 70 miles an hour. So I was quite happily punting along about 55 miles an hour. When something happened with this flatbed, I have no idea what, and it started losing fence panels off the... Well, not fence panels. Fence... Posts. Fence posts. And I could see what was happening, you know, that something had snapped and these fence posts were coming off the back of it. I couldn't move into the hard shoulder because I couldn't say that no one would be there. And I couldn't move into the middle lane because there was traffic in the middle lane. I had nowhere to go. So for it felt like a lifetime, but probably maybe 5 seconds, 6 seconds, I could see these fence posts bouncing off the road heading straight for me. So I thought, all I can do here is hold on to the wheel and hope to God I get out of this alive. So these fence posts are bouncing along. Some went over to the hard shoulder, thank God. One of them didn't. It bounced in front of me and it smashed into the windscreen. And I just closed my eyes and I'm holding onto the wheel with one hand, trying to cover my face with my other hand. And I was just waiting for the glass to come in on top of me. Something hit me on the head. But luckily, I was okay. So this fence post bounced off the bonnet, onto the windscreen, onto the roof and over behind me. So by this stage, I could see that I could get onto the hard shoulder. So I skidded onto the hard shoulder, slammed all on, and thought, you're going to need to open your eyes and see how bad this is. So I opened my eyes and I looked at the windscreen and it hadn't smashed. It was scratched, but it hadn't smashed. There was an almighty bump in the bonnet. But it hadn't smashed. So my first thought was, thank God for that. My second thought was, what the hell hit me on the head? Because, you know, something had cracked me one on the head. So as I'm looking round, I realised that my rearview mirror had disappeared. I was just left with this stump where it had been. So I looked on the floor and there was the rearview mirror. And I thought, well, that must have been what hit me on the head. And it was quite a small rear view mirror that my dad, you know what my dad was like for pimping cars. He'd put a bigger mirror on it. So I had a lovely bump on the head off that. So I thought, there's no point getting out. I'm okay. You know, bonnet's okay. Rear view's okay. But I thought, windscreen's okay. But you're not supposed to drive if you don't have a rear view mirror. So I picked it up and held it up and got to college. I limped to college with this car. I to this day, there was somebody looking after me. The angels had me that day. So I got to college in it. Did I ring you? Because there wasn't much point,
remember.
I wouldn't have thought.
I don't think you did.
Well, I didn't have a phone. But that was the day.
Oh, yeah.
I then had to get back, so I couldn't go on the motorway. Didn't dare go on the motorway with no mirror. I drove back 50 miles with one hand holding this mirror up in place. So I got back, told Mum and Dad what had happened. They nearly had coronaries on the spot. Mum said, right, that's it, you're getting a mobile phone. And I'm like, it's 1992, Mother. Have you any idea how much these things are? But she was quite right, you know. So that was that. But then I had to go and get a new mirror and make sure that the car was okay. So I went to the main dealer with this mirror. So one half of the mirror, the bit that the mirror attached to, was still there. But this other bit of the mirror, which was the actual mirror and the arm, was in my hand as I walked in with it. So I said, bit of a weird one, this. So I explained what had happened. And he said, how did the mirror fall off? How did the mirror come off? So I said, well, it hit me on the head. You know, my eyes were closed at the time. I couldn't exactly tell you, but it just committed Harry-Carry. It just flew off. And he took it in his hand and he was like mesmerised with it. And I'm like, what's the fascination with this? And he said, it's meant to. He said, but I've never seen a car hit so hard that it's happened. So I said, what do you mean it's meant to? And apparently it had this amazing safety device in it that if a car hit a wall, the driver was more likely to be injured by hitting their head on the mirror. So this safety device meant that, like, if a car is hit hard enough, it will, like, just twist off. And that's exactly what had happened. But he had never seen it actually happen. He wanted to come out then and look at the car, see the other half of it. He was mesmerised. So he said, you don't need a new mirror. You don't need a new mounting plate. He said, all you need is one of these. And he got it out of the drawer. And all it was about 2 inches by 3 inches piece of plastic with what looked like fan blades in the middle in a circle. And that's where the screw went in. And in the event that a car was hit hard enough, it would just fall off. And that's exactly what had happened. He was absolutely mesmerised. Wanted to take photos of the thing because he'd never seen it. So I got in there thinking, this is going to be expensive. You know, I need a mounting system. I need the mirror. I need the arm. This is going to be really expensive. And it comes out, this thing's like £2.50. So I said, I think I'll take a couple more with me just in case. And I did, but I never needed them. Oh, that was a great one, that. Have I ever trained any lawyers or firms in IT since leaving it behind? I don't think I have. You have, haven't you? You've trained lawyers. But you're immune to them now. Who I did train was I once went in to train some young girls. I think there was 2 of them in Word. And we got talking about what they were doing and who was doing what. And one of these girls turned out to be a law student. And I think she was in year 2 and she said, I'm going to have to give it up. And I said, why? And she was saying, oh, well, you know, there's this to do and there's that to do. And I said, I'm just not good at it. You know, there's got to be a right answer and I never know what the right answer is. And I remember when I was doing it that I felt exactly the same. That on your exams, you get questions and it's like, so will A win or should B win? And you're like, I don't know. And that's the answer. But that's not the answer. It's showing you working out's the answer. That this could happen or that could happen and it would depend on this and it would depend on that. And I ended up, for the whole of the lunch break and the morning and afternoon break, teaching this girl how to pass her law exams. And at the end of the day, she said, like, this was the most amazing session and she taught me Word as well. So I've done that. I need to write a book. Oh, as if I've got time, Kim. But, you know, it might come. If I get faster with my content creation, it could get faster. Oh, my word. Right, what else have I got? Simon's headed off, so night to Simon. Oh, hang on, I've missed the first half of this. Right, the first time Patience drove herself to the campus, there was a little lady driving the wrong way in an emergency lane at almost 100 miles an hour. This sounds like something that would happen to us. Mike's done that, haven't you, on a roundabout?
Yeah.
Somebody coming the wrong way round a roundabout, only just missed us. It is, it's scary. What they've done in this country to try and make that less likely is where you've got a junction on a motorway where it's a coming off junction, it's an exit. It is not an entrance, it's an exit. They've put like metal plates that are like at 45 degrees to the floor. And when you drive over them the right way, they go flat. But if you try and drive over them the wrong way, technically it's supposed to stop you. But it's not stopped stupidity round here, has it?
No.
That has happened multiple times. Wow. I'm glad you're okay with that. She's on the move again. It's typical, isn't it? Oh, my word. Yeah, he worked for the main agent, so that's probably why. But he was fascinated with it. Absolutely fascinated. We're driving the roundabouts wrongly. Well, she certainly was, Renee. She's going round it the wrong way. Oh, my word. You are just in time to say goodbye, Tracy. We've been chatting on for about 20 minutes now, haven't we? So I'm going to have my ice cream. I am going to have my ice cream. But good to see you, Tracy. I hope you've seen last week's unboxing, which was the second unboxing, the redux of the unboxing. And they're doing okay, aren't they?
They are doing okay.
They've
I've
grown.
fed and watered them.
Yeah, I need to be supervised in charge of plants. I'm all right with dogs, but children and plants, I need strict supervision. But thank you for arranging the replacements. I hope you have seen the unboxing, because they were chalk and cheese to the first ones. They didn't even look like the same plants. They smelled the same, but they did not even look like the same plants. And I think we can now say, can't we, that the first plants didn't survive.
No.
We tried. We repotted them. We repotted them and we tried, but no. After 2 weeks, no. And Mike said, these are dead. You are Monty Python's parrot. You're going to have to accept that these are dead. And I'm like, no, let's give them longer. And Mike said, no, they're dead and they're attracting flies. So luckily the second ones were amazing. Oh, you think they're going to be fine if I plant them in the garden. But you see, if I'm in the vicinity, there could be a problem. Not good with them.
Jammy, go back and see last week's unboxing.
Oh, Jammy, have you not seen last week's?
before.
Watch the birthday show from the 19th first, and then watch the 26th and see the difference. And the smell is gorgeous, so you're quite right there. Look, we love you too, Kim. We absolutely do. And the chatting part's Dee's favourite. Well, you must come on Monday, Dee, because that'll be all chat for a whole hour. And then afterwards, you can hear me vent about why I won't be buying the AR glasses. And if he doesn't bring out a computer that I can buy, I'm grumpy. Oh, Timothy will get both of my barrels, I can assure you. Right, okay, we will head off then. So thank you for being with us. I hope you've enjoyed it. It's good night from me.
And good night from me.
And we will both see you next time. Stay safe, guys.